person. I would not have been the only person that would have said
I know.
that would have happened for the French Open.
Hold on. And it's scrolling very
Says we're
slowly. There we go.
live.
And we're live. There we go. And we're on.
We made it.
Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle. Like so far, so good. I mean, like we said, we had a little thunderstorm here about about 2 hours ago, and I think you're getting it probably within the hour. So this can be fun. If we lose power, we lose power. We say screw it. We go with it.
Yeah, and if all of a sudden you start hearing loud cracks of thunder, know that I am not in any danger. No one's breaking into the house, and you don't have to worry. You don't have to drive down from Buffalo or wherever your viewers, wherever they're located, wherever they might be. Not that you know where I live, although you can pretty much guess based on at least the general city that I'm located in.
Because there's only a picture of Citizens Park behind you. That's all.
Yeah, just picture Citizens Bank Park behind me, rocking the Union hat today. The only team that did not disappoint me on Saturday, or Sunday rather. So they get some love today.
Good for you. So yeah, welcome to our show, everyone. With the fun we've had, it feels like, I can't believe we did a show like last week already. It's been 5 days, and we've got a ton to talk about.
Hey, that's because this is probably the first time that we've done one so quickly after doing a previous one. Normally, there's at least like a 10-day break in between. But yeah, in the world of sports, as I think we've learned throughout the course of, not just doing this show, but even our previous show, and just kind of living and working and enjoying sports as we all have, that things happen in one day. There is nothing that goes by where there's not something to talk about. And as I tell people all the time, when you are covering anything and everything in the world of sports, you're never going to have a dull day. So full show is on tap.
Not just because TNA, but we'd have Death Watch every week. It seemed like we would just do Combat Corner.
I just always thought it was funny how we were able to do 3 hours on just combat sports. So there was we're talking about we're doing combat sports and baseball and basketball and hockey and football and tennis and golf and everything. Yeah. We get it all in.
Yeah, I think it's because we stick to the main stories too. It helps, and we're not digging.
Yeah, not too much. Occasionally there will be a little hometown flair in there, but try to keep it as national as possible.
There's definitely hometown flair in this one. So yeah, let's do obviously the lead story. And I messaged you right away, well, who's got our lead story? So the guy that tested positive 10 days, be 2 weeks now, but give or take. But he tested positive on Saturday, so it's 16 days ago, and now wins the U.S. Open. And we had JP on, and he talked about how this guy was one of the best golfers out there that's due for a major win, and he got it.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the first things that I was thinking about too. It's Jon Rahm was the guy who was name dropped as he's a really good golfer on the tour. He's looking at that, he's getting his swing to a point where he can win a major, and lo and behold, gets his first major. Becomes the first Spaniard to win the U.S. Open.
Because you'd think a guy that's a golf coach and was a professional golfer and has a legacy in golf would know a thing about golf.
Hey, but not everybody gets their takes right, as present company, can tell you. Not that I have expertise in any of the areas where I'm ever giving takes, but to say that someone is going to win a major, that's hard. That's hard to do, even as an expert in the field. That's hard to do.
Dare say it's major.
Nope, we're off the air. We're done. We're canceled.
Yeah, I'll see myself out. Thanks.
The pun watch has started.
But yeah, it was he was always lingering around. He was always 2 behind. I watched snippets of the final round, and then I caught the last couple holes. It's he's gonna do it. Yeah, everyone's Torrey Pines is not a hard golf course per se. It's just what they do when the U.S. Open comes to town and they make your course 35,000 times as hard. They don't cut the grass the same way, or they don't cut it at all. and you get more narrow fairways, deeper bunkers. I mean, good thing we didn't. I'm happy we didn't have an incident at Torrey Pines. I'm just happy about that. If you don't know about
it, not an incident per se, but we did have a bit of a tree getting in the way there, which can't say that happens every day.
Well, Torrey Pines Torrey Pines and Pebble Beach and all that, all those Torrey Pines and the other golf course that's right there. It's a major golf course, but it's not Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach is further up. But there's a little how do I put it delicately? Like they gotta be careful with aerial shots on those golf courses down there. I don't know if you know.
I don't.
There's a nude beach right there.
Oh, so I'm guessing in the past they have gotten some.
You've got a little bit of a free show. I think they finally got smart. I think they closed down the beach during the golf tournaments finally.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't stop the boaters from coming in and all that too, which I think is awesome. And the hang gliders and all that.
Yeah.
Which I think is crazy. It's always, I don't know if you saw any of that, like with the hang gliders going, or even like the parasailers just going by in the background.
No, I didn't see any of that.
It's crazy to see. It's like the weirdest experience in like a major. It's like a circus almost.
But yeah, it was definitely and it's been such an interesting slate of majors this year in golf. We're seeing things that haven't been done before. We're seeing first-time winners. We're seeing, historic moments in, Phil Mickelson and, of course, Hideki Matsuyama both becoming a first-time winner and becoming the first, Japanese golfer. Now we have Jon Rahm, the first Spanish golfer to ever win the U.S. Open. So it's been pretty cool, seeing how golf is kind of going this year. And, it'll be very interesting to see, kind of what happens as the season goes on, who will be favored, who will be, will we see another first-time major winner, or, is it time for like one of these other guys? Like I always think about Rory McIlroy as somebody who
is long overdue.
I've been waiting almost for him to come back. Not that I'm a particular fan of his one way or the other, but he just seems like somebody. I think his last major win was like 2015, maybe, that back when he was on that tear and he was just, seemed like he was winning almost every other tournament at the time. And then you've got, Ricky Fowler, an American golfer who he's kind of another one who's always been on the cusp. He's had his moments, but he's not really a good closer. So I don't know, if a major win is kind of in his immediate future.
For Rory, by the way.
2014 for Rory, yeah. So yeah, it's 7 years now. That's a long time. That's an eternity for a guy who, at one point looked like he really was going to be
a kid.
Yeah, that he was going to be top of mind, winning majors all the time. Because
he had 4 majors by the time he was 24.
Yeah, because he just seemed like he was winning, and if he wasn't winning every major, he was constantly in contention on the final day of every major. He was definitely a star who, for whatever reason, just has fallen off. And, it's a lot of pressure to put on a guy when they're young and they're winning all these tournaments. And
I mean, look at Tiger Woods. I mean, I can't imagine the pressure he was put on because he was the chosen one.
Right. Yeah, imagine being that.
And then living up to it for the last almost 25 years.
Living up to it, but in some ways still not living up to it. Because if you think about it, everybody looked at Tiger Woods as the guy to break the record. Like he was going to end his career with the most majors. And, it's looking now that is going to be a near, impossible sort of feat for him to get. But it's kind of funny when you look at somebody who has achieved as much as Tiger has, but in some ways still fell short of what the ultimate expectation was for him because, he's not most likely going to end his career with that record.
And yet he's tied with most wins all time.
Right. But it's that major record that everybody looks at. They don't look at total wins. They don't look at tournament wins. They look at when you're comparing these best of all time. And I know we're going to talk about tennis in a little bit, and it kind of lends into that too. Like nobody cares if you have the most ATP Tour wins. Like, sure, that's fine and good. That's a stat. that you get to hold claim to. But at the end of the day, when people are having the conversation of best of all time, they're looking at one category, and it's Grand Slams.
It's
Golf,
still Tiger.
Same way. They're looking at majors.
Yeah, but it's still Tiger. I mean, the guy's done so much for golf.
But you think that he's recognized as a greater player, even though he doesn't have that record?
Yes, because it's like using the argument for Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's got 6 championships. Bill Russell's got 11.
Okay, that's fair. But Michael Jordan also had never lost in the finals. He's 6-0.
Bill Russell, I think, is like 11-1, if that.
Still a loss. Still not perfect. Winning percentage is, not as good. But no, I see your point. You can't judge everything on championships. However,
I don't know if he lost or not. I don't think he did.
It's pretty impressive if he went 11-0. But you're comparing a team sport to, I'm talking about individual sports where you are 100% responsible for your accolades and for your success. In basketball, yes, it was Jordan's team, and yes, it was Russell's team, and all these other guys who have won so many rings, but there are other players that are involved. You don't win it single-handedly. You need those other players and the roles that they're playing. In golf and tennis, you don't. It's 100% on you if you win. So I think it's easier to view that from a pure title versus title standpoint. You can also argue that Tiger arguably had less competition for a long period of time. I mean, he was the greatest by far. When you're talking about tournaments and people would, jokingly, Tiger versus the field. Like, he was that much better. I don't know if the same could be said during the age of, when Nicklaus was winning his titles and everything like that. But
my whole
competition does play into it.
Well, I think he just set the bar so high because, like, everyone else, he was in the transition period in the late 90s, but there were some really good golfers then still, like Davis Love. I can, like, all the guys that basically are doing commentary for TV now. But it's like, he was at that low point, but it's like, he just went like, okay, everyone's driving, like, with these new, like they're still using woods. And they're hitting the ball 250, 260, and then there's Tiger out here bombing at 330 without trying.
Right.
Like, he had to wait for competition.
No, I mean, he definitely revolutionized the game. That's never something that I will take away from Tiger Woods.
That's why I'll use the Jordan analogy. It's like, yes, but is Jordan the greatest basketball player of the time? I don't know. Like I said, most people consider him. I could make an argument he's not.
I mean, it depends on how you're going to define, this idea of greatest of all time. Are you looking at rings? Are you looking at team success? Are you looking at individual stat lines?
I don't.
MVPs, things like that. I feel like it's harder in a team sport to define a greatest than it is in an individual sport. Because again, you could look at total wins. You could, and Tiger has that. You could look at total tournaments that aren't Grand Slams that he's won. You look at majors, you look at, you put all that stuff together, and yes, you can make a case for him being the greatest of all time. But it just depends on what your metrics are.
Well, yeah, the reason I'll use Jordan as the analogy is like, it's like, okay, basketball was floundering in the 70s, the 60s, and then all of a sudden, like, this guy came along in the mid 80s and just, yes, the revolution's the thing though, is like, he's bigger than the game. It's like Babe Ruth.
Right.
Where he's bigger than the sport itself. It's like Hulk Hogan in wrestling.
Yeah. But does that make you the greatest of all time? And I think in Jordan's case, it's not just the star power. It is the success.
I think the star power helps.
The lore, I think, of Michael Jordan, the legend of Michael Jordan, the whole playing in the finals and winning, having food poisoning, like those kind of things, whether they're true, whether they're not, you can debate that however you want to, but there's a legend to who Michael Jordan was, both as a person and as a player, that goes all the way back to his like high school days. There's so many stories about Jordan that, he would go out there and he would say like other players, said these things to hype himself up. And he would, if they made a whole documentary about the guy, not technically just Jordan, but if you saw Last Dance,
he also had a lot of input in that too, though.
Right, but there's so much about Jordan that I think is partially why he stands up over somebody like a Bill Russell, over somebody like a Kareem or a Magic.
But
anybody that you could have thrown into that same category as the greatest, even like a Wilt Chamberlain. I would argue Wilt Chamberlain was somebody who, when you can score, not he scored the 100 points, whether or not that's true or not, who knows, but when you're averaging a double when you're the kinds of things that he was doing then, no, granted, you can make the same argument, he was the tallest guy on the field, on the court by far. He didn't have competition. He stood there in the paint and he dunked and he dunked and he had his way. Like that was his game. But you could, some people could make the argument that he was the greatest of all time, and what he meant to the game, how he changed the game. He also had an impact on how basketball is played now. So I don't think it's as black and white as people make it seem. People have gotten so enamored with this whole like Jordan versus LeBron thing when it comes to greatest of all time. I think there are other individuals who you could throw into that conversation.
And I was going to throw Wilt way up there because he is, without a doubt, I will say this as, not just because he played for the Lakers, and I'll flat out say he is the greatest offensive weapon the NBA has ever seen. Because it's like he could, he even says he's like, I had no problem with playing against Bill Russell. I was scared to play against the Boston Celtics. Because his finals records got off. I think he's won like 2 championships, like one in Philly, one in LA.
Yeah, he didn't win that many.
And he was in a lot of finals, but I think he was like 6 or 7 finals. But it's this crappy like you said, team sport versus individual sport. If you want one of the greatest individual athletes ever, and this is going to segue into the Olympics some way somehow, because I can't help myself, because it's 'tis the season for like a beverage, because we know we're what 3 weeks away.
Yeah, we're close.
Alexander Krelin. If you don't know who he is, please, for the love of God, look him up.
Can't say I know the name.
He's the Soviet amateur wrestler, Greco-Roman wrestler. He's lost twice in his life. He's like 882-2.
Wow.
So I'm sorry, like Michael Phelps. Yeah, you won a lot of gold medals. He's the one that lost to Rulon Gardner in 2000, by the way. He was just he would just destroy everyone. Like they have moves named after him in amateur wrestling. It's just it's like where you rank I get why, but it goes back to Tiger Woods. Is he he revolutionized the sport? He made golf a big money event.
Right.
I've been doing a list of golfers winnings by year, like the leading golfers. It's before Tiger Woods came along, the leading golfer, if you got $1 million in a year, you were,
right.
And now and then there's years 98 alone. I think Tiger Woods made $10 million.
Yeah.
Because he just beat the shit out of everyone.
Right. And there was an excitement behind Tiger Woods coming into the game. And that's kind of, how you can kind of look at all of these sports when you have, I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people gravitate towards LeBron and this idea of him. Some people think he's better than Jordan. I wholeheartedly disagree, but I can
way the hell up there.
I can see why that argument is made, because he came into the league, same sort of idea. He was the guy. He was, gonna be the greatest player.
Jordan had the hype.
Right, once in a generation kind of talent. That was LeBron. He's playing during a different era. He's playing during an era where, there's more outlets for your story to be told. It's not just print journalism. It's social media. It's, videos. It's all these different things. So the hype behind LeBron was bigger than
anyone.
If not anyone, maybe Kobe Bryant would have been probably the
Kobe last really didn't have it.
Big guy. But yeah, that's the thing. He wasn't even as hyped as LeBron.
Well, yeah, for Kobe, it wasn't the in thing. Yeah, Kobe and Kevin Durant came in the year where it became the mainstay that hey, high school kids can do this.
Right. Their thing was
they were the outliers like Moses Malone.
right. They were some of the first guys to ever defer college to go straight into the NBA. Because by the time LeBron, had done it, it wasn't really a thing anymore. If you didn't go to college, that wasn't a big deal. And then of course, they have the one and done rule, which changed things as well.
Though, they were showing his damn high school games on ESPN.
Right, because they identified this guy as somebody who was going to be this great player. And you see that now in a way that you didn't see it back then, where, scouting is able to be what it is, that you're starting to track, international soccer leagues, like sign kids when they're 12 years old. They know they can't play until they're older, but you get the rights to them because you see something in this player that you want. We don't have that in the United States where you can just pick a guy out of middle school and say, hey,
not anymore,
come play for the Yankees in 6 years. Like, it doesn't work that way. Kids have to go to school to a certain level.
They signed someone, like, I forgot who it was in the 80s, like he was like 14. And they just keep getting better.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
Right. I think you have to be at least, I think you have to be out of high school or like 17.
For baseball?
Yeah, I think you have to be out of
high school.
Yeah, I think you can be like your senior year.
But you don't have to finish high school, I believe, for.
I think you can be drafted, but you can't officially sign with the team until you're out of high school.
Because a lot of people choose. I don't necessarily want to say a lot of people, but a decent amount of players will choose the majors over college if they're, drafted highly enough and they can sign for a decent amount of money
and show promise.
Yeah. But and others, they'll get drafted in like the 1000th round because baseball has ridiculous amounts of rounds of the draft, and they'll be like, no, you know what? I'm going to go to college for a year. I think I can get my stock up and be better and get drafted higher. Yeah, and then make more money and go through that whole process. But
that's a whole different cluster for a
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just kind of although the amateur Major League Baseball draft is coming up. So that will be something to talk about eventually with a bunch of players that probably nobody has ever heard of. But if you're interested, this is just a plug. MLB Network is doing for the first time this year, which I think is kind of cool, a Major League Baseball draft combine. So like similar to what the NFL has, they're now doing a draft combine.
And the NHL and the
NBA. Right, yeah. So baseball is now joining the fray. And they're going to televise it on MLB Network. So yeah, it'd be a chance to see the stars of tomorrow.
See some 17-year-old football, 95 miles an hour.
Yeah, you won't know their names. You probably won't know much about them. Although I do think Al Leiter's kid is one of them. So
he's from Vanderbilt. I think.
Yeah, so he's somebody who people will recognize the last name. But just to kind of like tie everything back to the whole GOAT conversation, where this started, I think. One way to look at it is, the Dan Marino rule. So are you going to exclude somebody because they don't have any championships? And you can kind of make the same argument of if you're
anyone for the Bills.
If you're going to choose somebody based on having more championships. So, I do personally believe that, I don't think Tiger Woods is the greatest of all time. I do still defer to Nicklaus on that one. Tiger's career is not over. There's certainly a chance whether or not he catches him in majors, that might not be the defining factor. But, I do think in an individual sport, it is easier to count accolades by championships than it is necessarily in a team sport, because you don't control, like Dan Marino was one out of 50 players that had an impact on that Dolphins team. It is not, yes, the quarterback drives the team, but the quarterback doesn't play defense. So, if you're not winning a Super Bowl, not necessarily all on you.
We'll talk about the championship thing really quickly before we segue into the next thing. It's like people have like maybe like, are you there?
Yeah.
You froze for a second.
Yeah, you froze too.
Like how like people like Elway's better than Marino because Elway's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Shocker. Probably because you're thunderstorm, but anyway, it's like about people make the argument about championship rings in football, and that bugs the hell out of me. Because like, then are you going to say that Charles Haley is a better defensive end than Bruce Smith, who's got no rings, but Charles Haley's got 5? Because he's the reason why they won 5 Super Bowls. it wasn't the other 52 guys
Right.
on the team. I mean, Brady's, like I said, Brady's just an anomaly because he's got 7. And he has the numbers to back it up.
Right.
But it's like, is Haley better than Bruce Smith? Is he better than Reggie White?
Yeah, I mean, you could.
got-
It depends on the metrics, and different people see it differently, and that's why I don't think greatest of all time is necessarily this set in stone. Has to be one person decides it and then it has to be that way. I do think there is some level of subjectivity because different people are going to value different things. So some people, in a team sport like football, some people might value something like MVPs less than they value rings because, the goal is to win a championship. The goal is not to be the best player that season, because who cares what you did in the regular season? If you don't win a Super Bowl, your season was basically lost. So, I do think there's subjectivity I do think there's subjectivity in determining, who greatest of all time is, and everybody's going to have different answers. It doesn't mean you're wrong.
Right.
So if you say LeBron is the greatest, then you are wrong because just not a LeBron fan. Not sure if I've made that clear or not yet, but not a LeBron fan.
It's subtle.
But
it's
yeah,
really subtle.
The whole point is, if you can back up your case, if you're just out there saying like, oh yeah, this person's the greatest of all time, and I ask you why, just why? I'm not trying to, this isn't a gotcha question. I'm simply asking why do you think
you're not being confrontational.
Right. Why do you think this player is the best? Because the way that I see it is if you can back up your argument with cognizant points, with things that make sense, you tell me I personally believe that X, Y, and Z are the most important things in this game, and that's why I think this person is the best, then I'll say sure. That's your opinion. You're allowed to have it. I don't think it has to be something where there's a definitive sort of greatest of all time. There's certainly people that are more in the conversation than others. Obviously, if you're making a top 5 or a top 10, there's guys you're going to see appear in most people's list. But I do think when it comes to picking the best, it's so hard to come to that consensus because you are looking at different metrics. You are looking at people playing in different eras when the game was different. So, weighing kind of all of those things in, it is harder to come to that consensus conclusion.
And speaking of sports majors, I'll let you have the floor.
So, French Open has come and gone, and the King of Clay was somewhat dethroned. Technically, he is still undefeated in finals. He did not make the finals this year, played a pretty incredible semifinal against Novak Djokovic, who had come off a quarterfinal in which he, needed, I believe he went down, not 0-2 in that one, but he definitely, had been playing very strong the entire tournament. He needed everything in his arsenal to beat Nadal. Unfortunately, he had everything in his arsenal. And then, Djokovic goes into the final, plays Stefanos Tsitsipas, who apparently found out his grandmother died about 5 minutes before the match, still goes on to win the first 2 sets. Djokovic comes back, down 2 sets. It was the second time in the tournament he had done it, which was historic in its own right. Beats Tsitsipas, and now we have Djokovic sits 1 major win behind Nadal and Federer, who are both tied at 20, and we'll see where it goes. When it comes to the rest of the tennis season, the U.S. Open is the lone, or Wimbledon, and then the U.S. Open are the lone remaining majors. Nadal has already pulled out of Wimbledon. He is also not going to play in the Olympics, basically citing longevity, which goes to what I had been saying on this podcast before, where he's a guy who he knows where his best opportunity is to win, and it is on that clay, potentially hard courts. I can see him playing the U.S. Open this year. But, if he wants to prolong his career, he's going to need more time in between these majors. Wimbledon this year is falling a little bit early because the French fell a little bit late. So there's less time in between. There's less time for these guys' bodies to recover. He is 35, maybe even 36 now. So I think, that was a smart move on his part, pulling out of Wimbledon. Roger Federer, he's somebody who, as we've talked about, Wimbledon is his surface, one of his, he's won the most majors there of any other surface in his career. If his best chance of winning a major still exists, it would be at Wimbledon. But I think you have to look at it at this point where Djokovic is a guy who can more easily win on all four surfaces than Nadal or Federer. So when you're looking at who probably ends with the most majors, right now, I think that money has to lean towards Djokovic. Of course, anything can happen if I jokingly say if Nadal just played the French for like the next 10 years, he would probably, if not win 10 more majors, he'd probably win like at least 7 or 8. So I don't think his time has come where he's not going to win French Opens anymore. I just think Djokovic is kind of that perfect foe for him. They are arguably tennis's greatest rivalry. People used to always say it was Federer and Nadal, but that one was one-sided in the sense where Federer could never beat Nadal on clay. Djokovic beats him not regularly, but more than any other player. And, their rivalry, their head to head is just about even. So, that's definitely something where, we have been treated to having some of the greatest players to ever play. Again, whether or not you call Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, if you still believe Pete Sampras or Bjorn Borg or, anybody else who's played over the years is your greatest of all time, then that's fine. But kind of at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, the past 15, 20 years, you got to watch 3 of those greatest players play competitively against each other, play at the highest level, however you look at it. And I've said before, at the end of the day, those 3 guys, in my opinion, are going to be 1, 2, 3. I don't know what that order is going to look like yet, but they're going to be 1, 2, 3 as far as the greatest tennis players of all time, in my opinion. So, being able to say that you got to watch that and watch these guys go, because they are in their 30s, they're closer to the end of their career than they are at the beginning, and don't let it fool you that that Djokovic won the French Open, and these guys don't have forever left. So it's been pretty special kind of getting to watch them play, and it's exciting to see that next generation of guys coming up. I know they haven't really broken through yet. Last year's US Open was an anomaly because it was the first time that we didn't have Djokovic, Nadal, or Federer in a final in like God knows how long. But seeing like these younger guys, seeing your Dominic Thiem's, your Sasha and your Alexander Zverev, your Tsitsipas, your Medvedevs, all of these guys kind of coming up, it's always exciting to see the next generation. But the fact that Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic are still there and they're still winning, they're not ready to give it up just yet. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens at Wimbledon, who's kind of favored there. On the men's side, I have to imagine it's going to be Djokovic. I know, grass is not particularly his strongest surface. He's definitely, most successful on hard courts, but he can win everything. He's that kind of tennis player. So Wimbledon's coming up in probably just about a week, maybe a week and a half now. So yeah, time for another Grand Slam of tennis, and we'll see if Djokovic ends that tournament and we have 3 guys all tied for that top major record.
I was going to ask because I actually watched some of that match, the Djokovic Nadal. It seemed like Nadal was hurt.
I think it's hard to kind of say if it was an injury or if it was just more, the course of the tournament taking its effect, because Nadal does have the, the chronic issues with his knees, and, occasionally stuff like that flares up. I don't think it's like a new injury. I think it is just kind of wear and tear from the match. We have to remember Djokovic did not have to play Federer when everybody thought he was going to, because Federer, made a decision that maybe was in the best interest of prolonging his own career by pulling out of the tournament when he did. But yeah, I don't think Nadal's like hurt. I think it's just wear and tear from the tournament, and I do think that he'll come back. He'll play the U.S. Open, and I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, it just like seemed like he was just like laboring a lot, and I mean, like you said, it can be just like if it's chronic knee pain, like I can kind of relate. I mean, like it
right, and it's
doesn't
Nadal.
get better.
It's Nadal we're talking about. He did not drop that many
Yeah.
sets throughout the course of the entire tournament, so he was only playing 3-setters, occasionally maybe a 1-4-setter.
Yeah.
So he wasn't used to having to go the distance the way that Djokovic was. So in some ways, I think Djokovic may have been more conditioned. Djokovic also did a little bit more in the lead up to the French Open as far as, the amount of tournaments that he was working. And, you kind of can look at it both ways. Sometimes you do too much, then you don't come into a tournament fresh. I personally do not think Djokovic was fresh at the beginning of the French. I think he got better as the tournament went on, and that's partially why he was able
his
to.
endurance shows up.
Right, but that's partially why he was not able to, just beat Nadal. I think that's why he was able to beat the much younger. I think Tsitsipas is like 22, 23 years old. So, if you're looking in terms of fatigue and energy and things like that, I think his sort of veteran, knowing how to manage a game, knowing that he could come back down from 2-love in order to still win. That was something that the rookie, as far as being in the finals, this was Tsitsipas's first finals, he doesn't have that experience yet. So those kind of things all play into it. I do think that, like I said, Djokovic got stronger as the tournament went on. And then, he beat Nadal. And I think to him, that was the apex of, like, that was one of the best tennis matches he played in his entire life. And he said that.
Yeah.
So to go from that and then to go 2 sets down to, this young guy, feeling like you have nothing left in the tank and then being able to find that other gear, that's something that Djokovic, I think, does better than any player on the tour right now.
Not to compare it to a team sport, but it's like when the United States beat the Soviet Union in the Olympics for hockey.
They had to do everything perfect.
Yeah. And they did not win the gold medal being the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Sure, it's been 41 years, but yeah, most people
do not. Well, I don't necessarily think it's most people think that, but
they forget the Sweden game.
They forget the Sweden game because the Sweden game wasn't as interesting in terms of, beating.
It wasn't as consequential.
Right, and that's kind of the thing. Beating the Soviets was about more than just hockey. You kind of look at it like a Rocky sense. Like Rocky beating the Russian was more than just Rocky beating, Dragoff. It was about the United States and the Soviet Union and the Cold War and all that stuff going on. That was a fictional story. Miracle on Ice, the real life version behind that movie, was real. So it's the same sort of thing. It was the United States going up against the Soviet Union at a time when tensions were high and who knew what was going to go on between those two countries.
American morale was at all time low.
Right. So to have a bunch of, high school bad news bears kind of kids,
basically, yeah,
go and beat these professional, world beaters, that was huge. And the excitement and the energy and all of that was in that match, that by the time the final came, I think people were like, well, it doesn't really matter that much if we win the gold medal. The match that we needed to win, we won. The gold medal is just kind of cherry on top, icing on top of the cake.
I still think it was gold medal or bust.
I still, honestly, even if we don't win the gold medal, I do still think that moment, that game, that story is revered the same way that it is.
Like you said, it's larger than hockey.
Yeah. And I think that happens regardless. Even if we don't win the gold medal, I think that still happens.
Oh, absolutely. I think it does too, because it was like, oh yeah, by the way, the United States did beat Sweden.
Yeah.
Gold medal game like 3 days later.
Gold medal was just a nice way to kind of seal, that story up.
It was the middle finger on top of everything else.
You could put it that way. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. We weren't supposed to be Soviets. We probably weren't supposed to beat Sweden either. I don't know who would have been favored in that game, but
Soviet Union by far.
No, I'm talking about the Sweden game.
Oh yeah, I think the Swedes were.
Like, I don't know if after us beating the Soviet Union, if we would have then been favored or not, but
I still think the Swedes were favored because I think they figured that match, the game where the Soviet Union just took everything.
Yeah, would have taken everything out of them. Yeah.
So speaking of the U.S. Open for tennis, you have an interesting segue to say the least.
So, the US Open is going to happen, as it always does, in September. And then a couple weeks later, there's a pretty cool, I think it's cool, the other people may not think it's cool, but AEW is doing a Dynamite, a special, super, they call them super cards. It's going to be called Grand Slam, perfectly fitting, at the same venue that 2 weeks prior, we will just have wrapped up the U.S. Open. So they are.
Are they doing it in the closed
They
one?
are doing it in the Arthur Ashe Stadium, which is the main venue for the U.S. Open in the USTA. So they'll be in Flushing. And yeah, I don't know if it's the first time wrestling in the history of wrestling has ever been done in a tennis venue. I can certainly say it's the first time the U.S. Open has hosted wrestling. And it's very interesting how AEW is kind of looking at this, because New York is very much a WWE stronghold. Madison Square Garden for years was off limits to any other company. The fact that Ring of Honor and New Japan were able to run their show there a couple of years ago was shocking to most people, because of how WWE had this stronghold on Madison Square Garden and on New York City, that part of it. So AEW, and Jericho was one of the people that was interviewed. I think the article was in the New York Daily News, and basically saying, like, we're going to make this our part of New York. Like, I guess the plan is to keep coming back and doing shows, doing a major show each year at this venue. I think it'll work. I think I've been there. I think you can host a wrestling event at a tennis venue. It'll certainly be different, the way that the seating bowl works. It'll be interesting, but I think it'll work, and I think it'll be really cool.
I think it'll be interesting to see if, like with all the restrictions that they've been let up for New York State too, if they open up the stadium so they can get around the whole.
So that's the other thing too, that if they do fill this venue, because I looked this up out of curiosity, it's about 24,000 capacity for tennis. If they fill this venue, if they even go 3/4 of the venue, it'll be their largest show ever. It's already the biggest venue that they've run, outside of doing, I think the Sears Center may capacity wise may be able to do more, but All In only had 10,000. From an AEW standpoint, they've done more than that when they've done Dynamite at like the Liacouras Center, or some of these other smaller venues. They don't quite go to the biggest venue at each city, but this will be a venue comparable with doing something at Madison Square Garden, with doing something at the Wells Fargo Center. So, larger in some cases for some of these NBA, NHL arenas. So I would be very interested to see how they do the seating, if they do full capacity, because it's wrestling. They'll be able to do not a lot of floor seats, but they'll be able to have some floor seats in relation to where the ring, will be, as opposed to, the tennis court there.
Yeah.
But it will be very interesting to see. I think if they open it up to full capacity, I think they'll get it, because this is, WWE, when they announced their tour to go back on the road, there are several cities that were notable by their absence. Philadelphia was one of them. Boston was one of them. New York, New Jersey were another one. So unless
I'm kind of surprised
WWE, I was very surprised by that.
I think it's the restrictions in New York State. I think that's the reason why they didn't announce New York City one.
But at the time, they only announced everything. It was about like a month ago, maybe not quite. At that point, everybody was kind of moving towards full capacity.
But it's also different. New York's still wonky with the whole indoor-outdoor thing.
Right, but I do think, thinking ahead for them and being like, okay, we're going to do this show in August or September, things will probably be at full capacity then. And they always would have had the option that if New York was going to be stingy about it, then they pull the show. But to not even include, and Philadelphia to not be included, we were at full capacity. Boston was at full capacity. Some of these major cities were left off this list. They're doing a lot in Texas. They're doing a lot in Florida still, different parts of the Midwest. But what was interesting to me is that AEW is going to be the first show in New York unless WWE between now and September, I think it's like September 23rd or something, announces that they are going to do a show, and they very well might, knowing that AEW is going to be in New York now, they very well might pull something together just to preempt them, because at this point, if they don't, AEW will be the first show that New Yorkers will see back, and the energy behind going to a wrestling show is very high right now. So that's why I think that if AEW opens to full capacity, I think they'll get it.
It was interesting, like you said, about like how it'd be the highest attendance ever. It's like, I think that number would have been skewed if it happened. If the lockdown never happened, I can tell you from experience, the largest attendance they've had probably been here in Rochester.
But they weren't doing large venues.
They would do the Blue Cross Arena where the hockey with the Rochester Amerks play. It holds 10,000 people.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. They weren't doing NBA, NHL arenas, and I always thought that they could. Why do the Liacouras Center that can hold about 11,000 people when you could do the Wells Fargo Center that holds, 18, 19, maybe even 20,000 people now? I don't even know. But that's kind of how I was looking at like this tour. And I had said this to somebody who said, if AEW really wants to, because of the fact that WWE has not announced dates in these cities, if they wanted to run the Wells Fargo Center, if they wanted to run TD Garden, if they wanted to run, whether it be the home of the Brooklyn Nets, or in this case, them choosing to do it. Yeah, in this case, them choosing to do it in the US Open, they will get those people because these individuals want to go back to a wrestling show.
I'm floored they didn't do it.
And WWE has not put a show in their city.
I would book those arenas just to say I got them.
Yeah. So it would not surprise me. They may be taking a wait and see approach to see how this one goes. But, if I were them, because the East Coast is a wrestling mecca. The East Coast is so big and so important in the history, of professional wrestling. The fans want to go back. The fans want shows. And, everybody's starting to book up a 2,300 arena. 2,300 Arena is a very small venue. They're not going to, that's not where AEW is going to go. That's not where WWE is going to go. But MLW is doing a show there. Ring of Honor is now doing a 2-night, pay-per-view best in the world event there. People want to go back. And, some of these major cities, for them not to have a show there, I do think that, if WWE is not going to do it, then AEW has the opportunity to.
And the reason why I say Rochester would have been the highest attendance, it's for the most obvious reason, and now it would just be bittersweet. Because who was the person that was supposed to debut there? Like, you probably know.
Yeah, I know.
Brody Lee was supposed to debut there.
Would have gotten a huge pop.
Since he's from he was from Webster, I should say. God,
right.
I hate referring to him still in the past tense. It's just like,
yeah, it don't feel right.
It doesn't, like, not for how old he is. But it's like, yeah, I mean, he's from the city. It's like he will. Every indie wrestler in the Rochester area will have been there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. Like, I can show you videos. Like, I mean, if we somehow get Chris Harrington back on, like, he can show you videos from like high school and like early college.
Yeah, he's kind of famous now.
Yeah. Which is hilarious. So it's like yeah, he's like VP of like business relations for the AEW.
Yeah, he's like been on episodes of Being the Elite, seen him on TV. I'm like, oh crap. That guy was on our podcast way back.
He's the smartest person I've ever met.
Yeah, that WrestleNomics stuff was impressive.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, he still does that stuff.
Does he?
I think so, but the reason why is like I don't know if you know. I think I mentioned they ran out of math classes from in high school. Like, he was taking like fifth year like he only took a handful of math classes to get his degree at University of Rochester.
Wow.
Like, he was taking like third semester calculus in high school. Because, why the hell not? Because, you're super cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you know it and your brain works that way, then yeah, and clearly it boded well for him. He took his niche in wrestling and was able to turn it into a pretty great job.
Yeah, for fun. I was like, one day, I remember finding that out the hard way, because I was like, what's Chris up to these days? Like, I said, because I know he did the WrestleNomics stuff, and all of a sudden, like, I look, and all of a sudden, because I'm linked with him on LinkedIn, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, that's all. I'm like, oh shit. Like,
I thought I told you that. Maybe I forgot, because I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, wait a second, I think that's the guy that we had on the podcast.
It is like, yeah.
So yeah, he's kind of famous now. I don't know if he would do our podcast these days.
I think he would.
You think so?
I think, yeah, as long as we don't, because we're not asking for a job.
That's true. No job, no free tickets. We don't want anything. Just an interview, basically.
Yeah. So that anyway. Yeah.
I'll work on that, Scott. Well, I'll work on getting Josh Allen, like you told me to, and you can work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk to Mookie. So yeah.
But so, yeah.
I think that's a cool idea. I mean, like I said, I don't think it's the first time they've ever done wrestling. For the love of God, the combat sports have been so gimmicky since like look up the 1920s and like boxing and wrestling.
Right.
I mean, the venue was the gimmick.
Yeah.
Like they've done like underwater boxing.
Oh wow, interesting.
Tell your own jokes and how bad it was. So speaking of boxing, like we'll get this done right now. You've heard our good buddy Logan Paul, right?
Yes.
Who we fought recently.
Yes.
He wants to fight again.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard.
I have not.
He called a certain boxer old and he wants to fight him. Who is the worst person you probably could call old in boxing that can probably beat the shit out of anyone?
So like a current boxer.
Well, no, he's a retired boxer. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, he's a retired boxer.
But yeah, Logan Paul called him old. Who is the one person?
Oh, is he trying to fight Mike Tyson?
Yes.
I did hear about this.
Okay, okay, like
I wiped it from my brain because I just thought of how ludicrous it was. But yeah, that's right.
I mean, I go like, objectively, okay, it's not bad when you fight Mayweather because Mayweather could defense you to death.
Right.
Tyson will kill you.
Yeah.
Like I don't care.
Yeah, like, do you have a death wish? Because that is what will happen if you fight this man.
And not to speak ill of Tyson, because I'm like kind of nervous, not gonna lie. But he came in spell exhibition, okay? Like he will pound you into the ground if you call him old. Like I was telling my coworker at work about it because he didn't hear about it. It's like I'm like, I just think of The Hangover. He knocked out Ed Helms, right?
Yep.
I mean, do you think they were outtakes where he edging him?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure he did it by accident. Man doesn't know his own strength kind of deal.
Oh, he fully knows his strength. Well, it's more like, doesn't look real enough, do it again.
Ed Helms is probably like, are you kidding me?
No.
It was real. One take. We're done. We're good. It was real.
Yeah, we're good. It looked real enough. It's close enough.
Still real to him,
I mean, objectively, it's like Logan Paul facing Mayweather. It's like, yeah, okay. You outweigh Mayweather by 25 pounds.
Right.
Mike Tyson weighs like 230 and he's in shape still. Like he got himself in shape. Like he went to hiding for like a year and got himself in crazy shape for that Ray Jones sparring session. If he does it again, like, and this is like, at least Ray Jones knows boxing.
Yeah. It's not as Paul, totally. I mean, to Logan Paul's credit, and it's not very often I'm going to give Logan Paul credit, but to his credit, he does at least train. He does at least take this somewhat seriously.
Yes.
Do I think he's crazy for calling out Mike Tyson? Absolutely. I think the man probably got hit one too many times in the head during one of these previous boxing matches, and he thinks that he can beat the baddest man in the world. No, that's not. Whatever. The baddest man in all the planets, including Pluto. We'll just call him the baddest man in the universe. Regardless, it's Mike Tyson. Like,
did you see
they just showed a documentary about this guy and his life and how insane and crazy and strong and really good at boxing he was. Like, did Logan Paul does he not know who Mike Tyson is? Does he really think that he can beat him, or does he just want a showcase that will put eyes and get him money? Like, maybe he wants to be knocked out by Mike Tyson. Maybe that's always been a dream of his. Who knows? Maybe he's a super fan. He wants to get knocked out by him. Who knows?
I'm a super fan. I don't want to get knocked out by Mike Tyson. I mean, if you're giving me 50 million, maybe, but still. I mean, God, it's like his punching power is like, I mean, like this guy Tyson was knocking kids that got grown men out at 16.
Mm-hmm.
Like knocking him the hell out in the first round. Like, they joked it's like the first 15 fights of his career, I think like 11 of them didn't last the first round.
Jeez.
And they said he was like 16.
Yeah.
He's fighting guys every 3 weeks.
So moral of the story, Logan Paul's an idiot.
Yes.
Really hope Mike Tyson says yes. And then we won't have to deal with Logan Paul calling people out anymore.
Well, because he might be 6 feet under. It's like
Tyson will go easy on him.
No, yeah. Let's see. Tyson, go easy on him.
Hey, Tyson ain't trying to go to jail, so he'll go easy on him.
Again. Nah, Tyson will still kill him. So that's the entertainment part of the show. God, like I just don't get it. Like, so yeah,
it's gotta be a publicity thing.
Oh, I'll guarantee it is.
No one can be that stupid or delusional, I guess is a better word.
I think that's better. Is delusional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't call Mike Tyson old. You're just pissing. That's more than poking the bear.
Yeah.
So the NBA Finals have their Final Four now. I'm sorry to say, but your Sixers are not in it.
Boo.
Well, I think it's cool in the sense that like it's gonna be a team it's either never won it or it hasn't won it in like 50 years.
Yes. Okay. So when you take out the disappointment of your team underachieving yet again for the third, possibly even fourth consecutive year, because you have a player who is so afraid to shoot a free throw because he knows he can't make them, that he won't even drive to the basket because he's afraid of getting fouled. When you put all that aside, when you put the disappointment from, what should have been a great season and, first overall seed, and we would have had home field advantage throughout the Eastern Conference and blah, 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 blah. When you put all that aside, yes, it is great. As somebody that loves parity in sports, and I was saying this to, Josh when I was on his podcast, that it's always great to see teams, it's, not the Lakers, not the Warriors,
not the
Celtics, teams that are constantly, in it. It's great to not see that. So when it's your team involved, obviously it's harder to kind of put that parity situation, but at a point now where, the Sixers lost, it's over, it's done with. It's going to be one heck of an off season for this team, and whether or not Ben Simmons is still on the roster when the season begins next year remains to be seen. It's very much 50-50 at this point. Fans are ready to run him out of town. I don't know what can be done, short of him becoming almost a totally different player and learning how to shoot and, not being afraid to be an offensive player, which he doesn't want to do. He's never shown the willingness or the commitment to want to do it. Short of that, I don't see where he fits in with this team. And you have somebody like Joel Embiid who you don't get rid of. Joel Embiid is the guy for more than one reason. He is the guy that needs to stay in Philadelphia. You make things work around him. You build your team around him as your superstar. Yes, the injuries are a question mark, but Joel Embiid is hands, so much better than Ben Simmons will ever hope to be. And if Ben Simmons is not the kind of player that is going to give Joel Embiid the best chance for him to win a ring, then you don't keep Ben Simmons because, we can't waste Embiid's prime. If we're going to keep him here, we can't waste his prime. At least get to the conference finals. That's not too much to ask for. Get to the conference finals. Maybe get to the, regular finals. This would have been the year to do it because the Nets were out. They lost to the Bucks in a great 7-game series that really could have gone either way. Injuries to, unfortunately, Brooklyn, for all the money that bought that team and all the superstars that were on there, injuries struck at the absolute worst time. They had a not 100% James Harden. They had Kyrie Irving, who was out, and, who knows if he would have even played in the conference finals if they had made it that far. So, kudos to the Bucks. They played a great series. Same kind of goes for Philadelphia. We didn't really deal with injuries per se, although Danny Green was out, but I do not think the absence of Danny Green is why the Sixers did not advance. I think it largely hinges on, Ben Simmons and his inability to shoot, but you got to give credit to the Hawks. They went into a game 7 on the road where, the Sixers were favored to win, and they played great. Even with Trae Young, shooting like 2 for 20. He did not have a good game. Their star player did not have a good game, but they played well. They won. They advanced. Hawks Bucks, I think, is going to be a interesting series. I don't want to necessarily give basketball takes because they were wrong last time. Josh, when we were on that podcast, it was after game 3, I think. Yeah, so the Sixers were up 2-1 at that point. They had lost the first game, obviously, but they had almost come back to win. And, I said, and he largely agreed with me, that the Sixers weren't going to lose another game in that series. So I had Philly in 5. It did not work out that way. So caution to anybody that hears these takes and decides they're going to bet on them. Should probably bet the opposite. But I think this Bucks Hawks series can go one of two ways. And it, of course, one of two ways. But it's either going to be Bucks win in 4, sweep 100%, or Bucks Hawks go 7 and the Hawks win. The Hawks are a gritty team. I think they do their best work when their back is against the wall. So that's kind of how I see it going. As far as star power goes, I don't think that the Hawks can match up as well to the Bucks. So I do favor the Bucks in this one. You go over to the Western Conference and their conference final has already started. We already have the Suns up 1-0. The Suns have been an incredible.
And Kawhi's not playing game 2.
Kawhi's not playing game 2. Yep, you're right. And Chris Paul was out game 1, but the Chris Paul, Kawhi Leonard kind of, I said that they balanced each other out. So to not have both of them, the teams were kind of on even footing. But to see what the Suns have done this year is incredible. They have been such a good team, a sleeper team almost. Not that they were an 8 seed, but everybody had the Jazz. The Jazz were going to be the ones that won that conference. It was going to be Jazz
Easily.
Lakers in the conference finals. Like, people had that booked miles away. Well, the Jazz are not even playing to this point. And it just goes to show, there's kind of, the playoffs are fascinating, and players come, they have their coming out parties when you don't expect it. Everybody was saying that about Trae Young in the East. I would argue the same is the case for Devin Booker in the West.
Oh, God, yeah.
As great as Chris Paul has been for the Suns, Devin Booker is driving that team, and he is having an incredible postseason. I don't think they are where they are without him. They went 4-0 in their semifinal. They didn't even break a sweat. And, the Clippers are a great story. LA's, little brother team that they're just looking to hang one little banner in the rafters of the Staples Center. Just want their one. They don't want their, we won the whatever division they're in. So they are finally in a conference final, which is big for them. But I do have to lean both head and heart on the Suns on this one, because I would love to see the Suns win. I think it's about time that Chris Paul gets a ring. He's arguably, you could throw Carmelo Anthony in there, but at this current stage of the game, I think Chris Paul is the best active player that does not yet have a championship.
Has he been to finals?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. If he has, it's only been like once. But no, I don't know, because he was playing for the Hornets for a good deal of his career, and they were not very good at all. So he probably hasn't even made the finals.
And like what kind of alluded to is like the fact that like it's kind of cool. Like one of the both teams in the West have like never won a championship.
Right.
And like I said, the last time the Bucks won a championship, like it was Lou Alcindor at center.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, and before that, for the Hawks, they actually did win a championship. Bob Pettit was their power forward, and they're their team that they're like the hiccup in the Celtics run.
Yeah. So either way, you're getting a team that either is getting their first title or hasn't won one in
50 years.
50 years, which is great. It's great for the game of basketball in a league that had become so star player driven. And not to say that these teams don't have stars.
Well, it's star.
Trae Young is a star. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a star. Devin Booker is a star in the making, but
say his name right again.
You've got Chris Paul. Oh, I probably said it wrong, but you've got Chris Paul, who's a bona fide star, and you have Kawhi Leonard, who's a bona fide star. So it's not to say that these teams don't have stars, but after watching 4 straight years of LeBron versus the Warriors, in whatever context that was, whatever team he was on, I did not want to see that again. I don't need to see LeBron in the finals again for a very long time. For his legacy, sure, he can win as many as he wants. But I love parity. I love seeing this.
And the NBA is the worst for it.
Oh, it is. It's horrible. So as much as seeing the Sixers in the conference finals would have been great, because if ever there was a year that they'd have a chance. But I said to somebody earlier, I was like, in some ways it's a blessing in disguise, because
it's good for the league.
Well, good for the league, one. Two, it allows the Sixers to kind of evaluate this Ben Simmons situation and, are the things that he does well enough to make up for his incredible shortcomings? And three, I don't think the Sixers beat the Bucks. I don't think they beat the Suns. I don't think they beat the Clippers with Ben Simmons scoring 4, 5, 6 points, not attempting shots. I just don't think that they do it. So, in some ways, it's kind of good that things ended where they did before we went into the conference finals and got embarrassed, or somehow made it to the NBA finals, and that happened too. But
yeah, like you said, like, I mean, you said it's star-driven league. It's not even a star-driven league. It's a star franchise-driven league. I mean, look at me. Yeah. The Clippers, the Clippers. The Lakers won 17 championships. The Celtics won 16. The Bulls have won 6. The Warriors won 4, I think it is. It's just like,
right. And even when they're not winning championships,
they're still there.
You're constantly seeing the same teams make the playoffs every year.
I'll use the Lakers as the greatest example. They are probably the most dominant team in sports history, in the sense they've only missed the playoffs, I think, like 6 times in their franchise history.
Right.
Which is insane, considering they started when the NBA started, like in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
6 times they have not made the playoffs. That's like the opposite. That's like the exact opposite of, say, the Arizona Cardinals, who are an NFL original, and they've only made the playoffs 10 times.
Right.
In 101 years.
Yeah, it's almost unbelievable.
Like, mathematically, you should be going at least 25 to 30, but 10.
Yeah. So I think the parity of the teams that are there, and you're also looking at 4 teams where I can't name 3 superstars on those teams. At most, I can name 2. And the idea to move away from these big threes, to move away from these super teams, I don't think we're fully moving away from them.
Oh, we're not at all.
I like the idea that, even if just for 1 year, to get a break from that, where you're getting something different.
You also get the emergence of stars, though, like DeAndre Ayton, like, for example.
And that's great.
Hype. Yeah.
These guys, these young kids are having their coming out parties. They're having their star-making moments. And I think that is super, super important, because, similar to what I was talking about with tennis earlier, as great as these guys are, they're not going to be around forever. LeBron James is not going to be around forever. Chris Paul is not going to be around forever. All of these.
LeBron's probably got 3 years left, I'd say.
I would say 3 years of still playing at a high level, but I do think that he could play a little bit longer than that.
I think I was just saying, I think he plays 1 year with his son.
That would be pretty cool.
Whoever brought, like, because I think his contract's up in 2 years, so I figured. And I think Bronny enters the draft that year.
Yeah, something like that.
And I think wherever he goes, I think LeBron follows. Just to say he played with his kid.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty special if it works out that way. But even if they're both just in the league at the same time playing against each other, that's kind of a cool story in its own right. Watching Bronny Jr. cross up LeBron and his old man get a dunk, and have the Staples Center or whoever's playing forever at that point.
All I can think is, if there was, like, in my situation, my God, my dad would cheap shot my ass so bad. Yeah, I would go through his legs, beat him to the court,
and the refs wouldn't call it because it's LeBron James. It's just LeBron James Jr.
Because I think it's because it's the father teacher. It's the father teacher kid a lesson.
Yeah.
I don't think they would call it either. I think if you just smacks him in the back of the head or something like that.
Yeah, let him play.
Yeah, it's family.
Yeah, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of young players, both currently in the league and guys who are coming up, through the college and even high school ranks right now.
Or the G League.
Or the G League, yeah, definitely. There's been some guys that have taken advantage of the opportunity, who weren't ready to play in the NBA, but still talented enough to go through the G League and then get their opportunities in the NBA.
I mean,
I think the future of basketball is looking pretty bright.
I would say let's just be real. I mean, this pandemic's been like a blessing in disguise for a lot of players, for like regardless of sport.
Yeah, that's fair.
They've got like so many more opportunities. I mean, not just like, we'll just say you name quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, I mean, like, not just to my horn again, but like Josh Allen, like he came out of nowhere.
Right.
Virtually. I mean, like everyone's writing him up. I didn't see why. Then all of a sudden he has this year last year. Or like the guy from Carolina, PJ, the guy from the XFL.
Yeah, PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
PJ Walker, sorry.
Whatever. PJ, I can't remember. He went to Temple, didn't he?
He did.
God, I need a hobby.
That is your hobby,
That's the joke, everyone. I know like, every player in the NFL. Like, randomly, I know how where they went to college for some unknown reason because they played Madden a lot. But yeah, it's just like unreal. It's like all these players are like also like, hey, they're stars, or like, hey, they're almost a household name.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely incredible, and just to kind of bring it back to basketball to tie everything in. I think you're looking at a similar situation where, we were talking about in football with the draft class being so big because of people deferring their senior seasons and everything. I think you're going to see that in college basketball as well, because with, no tournament, the tournament being canceled last year was a huge blow. I think you are going to see guys who come back and have that final year. And, you see kind of larger draft classes in NBA that still only has 2 rounds to a draft. So you are going to see more guys. I never got that. No, I think they should expand it, honestly. But
even to 3 would be fine. Even to
3. Yeah, I would go 3. But as is, it's 2. So you are going to see more guys in the G League. You are going to see more guys doing these other things like the Big 3, like these other, super basketball tournaments, playing overseas, trying to get that exposure because they're good enough. It's just when you only draft 2 rounds, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, you got 30 teams in the NBA now, or 31? I forgot. I think it's 30, right?
The NBA is 32 or 30.
I think it's 30. Well, we'll just go for 30. And there's 12. I mean, you got to think that there's 12 teams. There's 12 players on a team. It's 360 players. And there's how many college basketball teams in college basketball? And you have
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
And you have 2 rounds. Yeah. And you've got not even college basketball. Forget that for a second. Like, the world plays basketball now.
I would have thought that over the years they would have expanded it to at least 3.
Just for the fact that like it's like, hey, let's in the head you make a team have like a farm team, for like a better word, and develop the hell out of them, like the G League kind of is. Just like have like 4 or 5 round drafts, like just like hey, this guy's like treat like the NHL, where it's like, hey, this guy's in our minor league system.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning. He's not ready yet. But maybe in 2 or 3 years, look out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's definitely opportunities that, I think it would be wise of them to do that. And, the reason why they haven't, I'm not really sure if that's even something that they've thought about or considered.
It's too smart for their own good.
It is the NBA we're talking about. They haven't exactly had the best leadership.
Well, not even the leadership. It's like with the exception of like baseball and hockey, it's like development's a joke. It's like you don't see a guy like in the NFL like, hey, I'm gonna linger around this practice squad for 4 years. I can't, like, I'm not ready yet, but maybe in 4 years, like, because the team's so good, like, I can't crack this lineup.
Yeah, it's really only baseball and soccer. Hockey's okay, but there's only one level to development in hockey. You're talking about soccer where there's like 5 to 7 different levels of leagues that you go to, and then there's kind of
ECHL and all that, but yeah, I mean, it's a bad example. I mean, but baseball's got they used to have 10 levels, but now they have 4, and it's like you can only 4 minor league teams. It's like,
but really? Still, it's that idea of climbing that ladder to a point where you either reach that skill. Level where you won't make the major league. And there's significant minor league players that will never make it to the major league. So you either reach that level or you continue to get better, and then you reach the major league. It's harder. You're right. It's harder to do that in basketball. It's harder to do that in football. It's harder to do that in hockey, but not impossible, because they do have some level. of development there. Basketball kind of has it with the G League, but I think the G League needs to be a little bit more. I think they need to do more with it than they do. There's only like 10 franchises, 10 of the NBA teams that actually have G League teams. So,
it's also like, it's also like the whole like, basketball's got the same, basketball and hockey always have the same problems. Like if they're not good enough, like, look, screw it, I won't play in America. I can go to Europe.
Right. There's options that don't really exist. And I mean, I guess you could argue in football, you go play for, one point in time, you go play for the Canadian Football League, or you could go play for the Australian Football League, or, when arena football was still around, that was an option.
It's still around. It's still around.
No, the guy went bankrupt.
My friend, no, I think there's another league that my friend's little
arena
brother
football.
Was playing
They're trying to bring back like arena football.
Yeah. Again, for the third time.
The league that will never die, apparently.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like the Blues Cards. Like this thing's been dead like 4 times, and they just keep bringing it back. I think it's because it's such a cheap investment.
Yeah, it's probably the reason.
It's not like they're paying the guys millions to play that in the league, but anyway.
No, they all have real jobs.
Some of them do. So yeah, we talked about that. We talked about the NHL playoffs. I mean, I'm is like the Vegas Golden Knights the golden goose, for the lack of better words, for like franchise teams. I mean, I get why
they have to be.
Well, I think the reason
most successful franchise in the shortest period of time
I think
any sport has ever seen.
Well, I think they got it right with the NHL for expansion drafts, in the sense that, like, because they screwed up so badly before.
Mm.
Like, you should. I'm going to lead into you after the show, and I want you to watch like the Ottawa Senators expansion draft story. It's really bad and embarrassing.
Mm.
Like, it's comically bad how bad they were the first year, because they only won 10 games. First of all,
oof.
Well, I mean that like their team like they do. I mean, I presume you've seen have you seen an inspection draft in sports? Like
the last one that I saw was actually in soccer. Was when the union joined the league.
I presume it's probably somewhere you can choose like 2 players from a team.
Yep,
or
you can protect players, and then you get to pick from every team. Yeah.
Yeah, you should see that like the Ottawa Senators one, because they came in the league the same year that Tampa Bay Lightning did.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a relatively new team, actually. Ottawa, believe it or not, they've only been they came back, I should say, because I think they moved or folded or whatever. They came back in '92.
Okay.
And you say it's a cluster? Yeah. Like the story was like their general manager and their scouting staff all relied on this. Like they had a laptop in 1992.
Mm.
Laptops are a little bit more money then than now.
Yeah, they probably had the laptop in 1992, the first and only one in existence.
And the battery died. They had all their scouting stuff on it.
That's awkward.
Yeah, and their outlet for their table didn't work. So they're picking people on the fly.
Wow.
And they were picking players that were not eligible for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
B, they were already like for example, I think the Lightning took 2 players from Toronto, and they tried to take a player from Toronto, they couldn't.
Yeah.
And they actually had to go up, and they said like Ottawa apologizes like 5 times. It's hilariously bad. It's just this big cluster. It's like,
yeah.
You say this gentleman lasted 1 year as GM, and he shouldn't have been any GM to begin with, but that's a whole different. But it's just like, it's like we mentioned like Las Vegas being like lucky. I think they made it easier for teams in the NHL to get like better players, because also teams were like purposely putting players on their team so they'd be like, so they could protect more, but they're better.
Oh yeah,
players.
Yeah. You would bring guys up from your AHL roster.
No, it's even worse than that. Like I think it was either Toronto or like one of the teams brought a player and they hasn't played there for 20 years, and they activate him for a game and made him eligible for the draft. And then NHL told him go to hell. You can't do that.
Yeah, I don't understand how that would benefit them anyway.
Well, because it protected a better player, but made him eligible. Like this was like a goalie that hasn't played like since like '78.
Oh, so they were activating people on their roster so that they could protect more of their actual players.
Or
gotcha.
And teams were in advance, like the year in advance, were trading players to better teams. So they would be like, yeah, my team's shit. You can take all the scraps. and then this better team's got to keep their team another star unprotected.
Right.
It's just like it was just like you just gotta watch it. It's just like it's the poster child for buffoonery in the sport.
Hey, but even still though, you still have to get an expansion draft right. And credit to Las Vegas for whatever they've done.
Got flack.
Whether it's coaching, whether it's ownership.
I think it's everything.
They have done so well in building.
This is what their third conference finals in 4 years.
I believe so, but I actually am going to look it up because I am curious the level of success that they've had.
Yeah, they in their rookie. Well, their first year they lost the Caps in the finals. I know that.
Yeah, I remember that.
I only remember that because I know the Caps lost the Stanley Cup at a strip club in Vegas, because it happens in Vegas. Like more reason never touch the Stanley Cup. Yeah, if it comes to Philadelphia, you just take a picture and just move on. Just don't touch it. From the stories of what players have done. I mean, not even drinking from the cup. I get it. I would even, like Marty Lindley had a threesome with him and his wife.
Oh gosh.
Like literally, it was him, the cup, his wife.
All right then.
Yeah, it's like never touched the Stanley Cup. Like I said, I think the Caps lost it for like an hour in a strip club.
That would not be surprising, but
not in the slightest. I think you mentioned, it's so cool. It's like every player gets to like have it for I think 48 hours. I think they get it.
So the Knights have been in the playoffs every year so this is their fourth season. They've been in the playoffs every year. They won 13 playoff wins to go to the Stanley Cup Finals their first year, which was the most for any team during an inaugural postseason run.
And they nearly won the damn cup.
Yeah, they were close.
But then, Ovechkin's mercies. Ovechkin just killed everyone.
Hey, it was about time he won one.
Yeah, he was overdue. My friend Brandy was too happy. So shout out to Brandy. Your Caps finally winning a cup, and you're choking every goddamn year. But yeah, it's like, and I think they made the next year. I think they made like the first round, got knocked out. I think and then this year I think they obviously they were back in the Western Conference Finals again. I think they made it last year too, but lost in the finals. Yeah,
so their playoff record is they lost in the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year. They lost in the first round their second year. Then they lost in the conference finals their third year, and now they will either win or lose in the Cup Finals. Yeah.
Well, it's the conference finals and the Cup Finals.
Yeah, the conference finals. Yeah.
That's insane for 4 years.
It's incredible. Like I said, I can't imagine any other expansion team in any sport that's had that level of success.
The closest thing, I mean, people will mention, like, if you listen to the show, they'll mention Carolina and Jacksonville making the AFC and NFC title game their second year. But that was a whole different, like, set of rules for them.
Right.
Because they had, like, 2 or 3 years of uncapped no salary cap.
Yeah.
So they could, like, I mean, if you look at the Jaguars, like, they just built the house. Like, and they're like, and they're like, hey, year 3, you got a salary cap.
Yeah.
You got cut him.
Yeah, now you can't pay for any of these players.
Right. But I say the closest example to me would probably be the Marlins.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 years after like establishing, granted they had like teams that were just like, we buy the team and explode them. Bobby Bonilla, just to make you happy because it's coming up.
It's coming up.
We should do a show live July 1st. We'll call it the Bobby Bonilla special or something like that.
There we go.
But all jokes aside, like, Bobby Bonilla was on the Marlins team when they won their championship. I think the second time or first time, I forget. It was one of the times.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's on the team. Like the team was like stacked because it's like, and then they just get all these players and they come on. They were drafting them. They were getting like guys like so late. They just had like young and old players together just playing out of their mind. Like the joke
it was the perfect storm.
Well, bro, this past year, it was like the third time they've ever made the playoffs. The other 2 times, they won the World Series.
They won, yep.
I mean, that's futility, yes, but the 2 times they went to the playoffs, they win the World Series. It's like they beat the Yankees and they beat Cleveland, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was Cleveland because I remember they had the craziest weather ever in a World Series.
Wow.
Well, could you imagine like going from the shores of South Beach?
Yeah. To like snow and rain
they had a snow delay in one of the World Series games because a lake effect banning came off Lake Erie and was plummeting what was Jacobs Field at the time.
That's crazy.
It's Cleveland, Ohio.
That's true. It's like, why expect anything differently?
I mean, yeah. Remember, it's late October. It's gonna snow in Cleveland.
Right.
I mean, I went to a Bills-Browns game, and it was September. It was like September 22nd. There was snow on the ground because the stadiums are right on the lake.
So they get all of that lake effect snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
All that and a bag of chips with that. I mean, I can't even tell you the other three teams honestly in the conference finals at all. It's just because Vegas is just like the anomaly of everything.
Vegas is just such a good story because of the fact that they, have this whole.
They drafted well. The ownership's there, and they've got a brand shiny new stadium. They're not playing a piece of shit for better words.
The other teams are the
Islanders.
Yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders.
And the Islanders are the greatest story, the greatest turnaround probably in hockey history in 4 years. How bad they were.
Yeah, they used to be terrible.
And they had probably one of the best young players in John Tavares.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the greatest lacrosse player of all time named John Tavares too. By the way, that's his uncle. If you don't know, if you don't follow indoor lacrosse, I don't know if you do or not.
Not really.
They had because Buffalo used to have I think there was a team in Philadelphia for a while in the indoor lacrosse league.
Yeah, we still have one.
Yeah, it's like Rochester had one, Buffalo had one. Yeah, Buffalo had a player named John Tavares who played forever. I think he played 23 years or something like that.
Wow.
He was a school teacher who played lacrosse professionally.
Yeah. Because they didn't get paid anything. They had to have day jobs.
Well, they
get a stipend.
Yeah, basically, and it's like I said, and it's crazy to think that he's the best athlete in his family, and he's got the same name as his nephew, he's a crazy good hockey player, who was also a crazy good lacrosse player. That's not coincidental at all. But anyway, it's like I don't care about the other three teams. I really think Vegas wins it this year. I think it's awesome. I can't imagine the party they'll have in Vegas. Pandemic be damned.
Yeah, that would definitely be something to light up the strip.
I think they need a day of the week to do that. I mean, just add a world championship.
They've never had a sports championship.
They've never had a sport for 4 years.
That's kind of what I'm saying. This is new to them, and they have the Raiders now. There's talk that they're going to get a baseball team. So they're there. They're starting to become a sports city, and this would just be great for them to get that first win.
Yeah, I think it solidifies the fact they get a baseball team for sure if they win a cup.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because it was so taboo for sports betting and all that. That's why they never went to Vegas.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But now sports betting is basically
you're in the middle
accepted.
of the desert. I mean, if they do get a baseball team, I hope to God it's the Dome Stadium.
You almost have to.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know if you've never been to Vegas, right?
No.
Have you been to Arizona?
No.
Have you heard about the beautiful weather they're having lately?
I heard it's hot.
Like 117, 120. Yeah, let's have an outdoor stadium in that. It's like why it's. I mean, as much as we give them shit, like we have, but that's the exact reason why the Texas Rangers built a new stadium down there.
Oh yeah, they would have to dome it. Yeah, there's no question.
You go to a baseball game in the middle of July and August in Texas or South Florida. Yeah, that's. I mean, besides the talent level, you go there in you go to Miami in the middle of the summer. It's 95. It's 100% humidity. You feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah, that's why nobody goes to Marlins games. It's not the fact that the team is terrible.
I think it's both. It really is.
Oh, it's definitely both. It's definitely both. But yeah, so it looks like the Islanders and Lightning series is tied 2-2. They're currently playing Game 5. The Lightning are up 3-0. And Montreal is up 2-1 over Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah. Very exciting stuff going on.
Oh God! If Montreal
more overtime games. Both games 3 and 4 in that Canadiens night series went to overtime.
Oh geez! If Montreal actually does make the Stanley Cup Finals and wins, God, they're gonna taunt Toronto so much. Speaking
of another overdue one.
Well, yeah, because they're the last team to win a Stanley Cup. It's from Canada. I think it was 93. So it's it's almost 30 years. It's 28 years since
it's been a while.
I think it's been the same amount of time basically, except Vancouver made it. I'm trying to last time. Yeah, I think Vancouver's made it twice since then. But that's about it. At least once, because one of the Rangers beat them in like '94. But that's the last couple. That's the last time I think a team from Canada has been in the cup. So speaking of our my lovely city, that's 70 miles away from me as the crow flies in Toronto. As you know, have not had any home games inside Toronto for about 2 years and change. They've been playing the games in Buffalo, New York.
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky. I literally got one day, on last Wednesday, my buddy texted me at 4 o'clock saying, "Hey, can you meet me at this parking ride at 4:30?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "I got an extra ticket to the game. You just buy me a beer and buy me a sandwich at the game." So I got to go to see the Blue Jays Yankee game in Buffalo.
Pretty cool.
And Vlad Guerrero almost killed someone.
That's like a Tuesday for him.
Well, the Jimmy, he almost killed someone because the way the Bison Stadium, that's the actual stadium. It's like Solana Field. It's where the Blue Jays play right now. They have it's right next to an expressway, literally right next to it, and it's a main artery of Buffalo, in the sense of the city. And they have a 40-foot net, just to make sure if you hit a home run in left field, you're not hitting into the road.
Right.
Vlad cleared the net.
Of course he did.
He had to hit it. Probably, this isn't batting practice. He had to hit it probably 480. Ball hit a car's passenger window.
Jeez.
At 55 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I found that picture for you. It's just it probably scared the ever-loving hell out of the lady.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, hi. Hey, I have free baseball.
Great. Yeah, great souvenir, though.
Yeah, if you didn't die. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing the math. It had to be 470, 480.
Wow. And
it had to be towering because, like I said, there's a 40-foot net. That's why you don't put baseball stadiums in downtown cities, especially next to expressways.
Yeah, I mean, it is a minor league stadium, so the odds of that happening a lot, you're not going to have a lot of players like Vlad Jr. that have that kind of power.
But it's not even that. It's some of these minor league stadiums are bigger than major league stadiums, in the just dimensions, I should say, not in, because the ones the one Rochester here, center field's 408.
Yeah.
For AAA, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot.
It's 405, I think, in Buffalo. I think it's for center. It's 325 down left field, which is not horribly short. I mean, it's not Polo Grounds. Come on now. Where it was 280 to left field and right field.
Nothing will ever be Polo Grounds.
But it was also 600 to 611 to center field.
Weirdest stadium.
No, there's weird. You should look up. There's a video about that. You should look up the high school baseball stadiums. You'll be what kind of drugs were these people on? But yeah.
What was it like going to your first baseball game
in Buffalo? Actually, that was actually my first ever game ever, even minor league. I never went when I was in college there.
Oh, okay.
Never been to that stadium. They basically made it feel like you were in Toronto. They took all the Bison's lettering down and they replaced it with Blue Jay stuff. Bathrooms were washrooms. They were they made it fully Canadian.
Oh, they even did that in the bathrooms.
They labeled it washroom, not bathroom.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And Sean McDermott was there, just casually just hanging out, watching the team, the Bills head coach. The night before Josh Allen threw the first pitch. He kind of duffed it, but he was mad about that. Because he can throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, which is if you watch him throw a football, that's probably a shocker to absolutely no one.
A lot of these quarterbacks can pitch.
Yeah, well, a lot of them get drafted. Brady got drafted by the Expos.
Russell Wilson got drafted by the Yankees.
That's a weird example, just for the fact that this guy, Michael Vick, never played baseball. They just drafted him to play outfield.
Because they saw that he was a good athlete, and they thought that they could teach the hitting part.
If they could only teach us sliding. And don't kill dogs. But that's a whole different story. It's a whole different story. Moving on. But yeah, I'm proud tradition carried on for me going to a professional baseball game.
What is that?
Road team won. Yankees won. And they won by 1 run. Every game I went to in my tour to baseball, when yours included, except for yours, I explained to everyone how the state of Pennsylvania is the anomaly in my tour to baseball. Because every game I went to was 1 run, and the away team won, even if it was the god awful Orioles against the Angels.
Oh wow!
But except for, and it's the crazy thing that I went the game that I went to Pennsylvania. Tell me, freshman, remember what happened? How the game ended?
How did the Phillies game end?
Yeah, the one that you and I went to.
I don't actually remember off the top of my head.
It was a walk-off home run, and the guy had the guy that had the walk-off home run had 2 home runs in the game. Wasn't it? Was it Reese or was it I
don't think it was Reese.
It was
I don't know. Now I'm curious. I go to so many games right, I honestly can't place what when, but yeah, I'm curious.
I'm looking it up as we speak. Was it Dodgers Phillies we went to?
Might have been.
No.
You gotta cross-reference. You gotta find the date on the picture.
I'm pretty sure it was July. Like I remember it was July we went.
It was definitely it was definitely the summer.
Hold on, I got these with Extreme with Pro Wrestling. Extreme Rules 2019, July 14th and July 17th. Because July 17th is your birthday. Sorry about that. I can't type for shit. July 1st. Yeah, I was like, when was Extreme Rules? Here we go. Yeah, it was Nationals Phillies.
Oh, Nationals. Okay.
Maikel Franco.
Oh, speaking of the Orioles, that's where he plays now.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Franco had a home run in that game, like 2 home runs in that game.
Yeah, Franco was pretty good for a while there. He was actually supposed to be like a pretty. See, the Phillies have a tradition of doing this, where they have prospects who are supposed to be really good, and then they come up and they have really good rookie years, and then they, pitchers have tape on them, and turns out they're not good at all.
Or they just trade it for or they get traded away for nothing and become a Hall of Famer.
That doesn't happen that often. Like the Ryne Sandberg thing aside, recently most of the prospects that we've traded have not gone on to do anything.
I'm very proud that you got that right away, by the way.
Everybody knows that story, the regret of that story. And then we went and brought him here as a manager and he sucked.
Yeah, it's the circle of life, Merrily.
It's the circle of life. Yeah, you're right about that.
But yeah, so it was a cool time. It was like, and of course, we went to the casino afterwards because I can't help myself. Won a couple $100.
Nice.
Yeah. By the way, we got home at I got home at 1 o'clock.
That's early.
Yeah, especially when we got to work at 4.
Well,
Yeah, because they say me and normalcy, in sleep, it's pretty well done.
3 hours. That's nothing.
Yeah, except for it's more like 1.5. Gotta be working for. I don't have to be up at 4.
Oh, you have to be at work at 4. I gotcha.
Yeah, so like I said, 1 o'clock, getting home. Yeah, that was good. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna be dragging ass at all. Then I say the purple guava berry, whatever it is, like Bang energy drink saved my life that day.
Yeah,
it's good stuff, by the way. If you've never had one,
I've never had Bang.
It's actually not bad. You don't get the sugar crash, which is kind of nice. Let's see, we got anything else to talk about? I don't think we do. I think that's about it. But I'm thinking about.
Well, yeah, there were a couple other baseball related things going on. Yeah. The Yankees turned. You had mentioned that your game was Yankees Blue Jays, and I'm sure you were cheering for the Yankees. I'm sure most of the people. This stadium's in Buffalo. Like, you really get that many Blue Jays fans, you get more Yankees fans.
You'd be amazed. I think there's a lot of closeted Blue Jay fans because it's Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny, my friend. Have you ever heard Del on my show, Del Reed? I think we've had him on. But he's he founded this company about 10 years ago called 26 Shirts. And he does a shirt every 2 weeks. And he donates $8 to a person's charity and all that. He did a Buffalo Blue Jays t-shirt with a buffalo, a buffalo logo instead of a actual buffalo instead of a Blue Jay. And I can't even tell you how much it's sold because I see so many of them around Buffalo.
Oh wow!
It's a huge charity thing for him, and he makes good money with it. It's
nice.
We'll have to run, but there's probably it was probably about because we still had segregated sections for lack of better words.
Right.
If you're until
for vaccinated and
yeah, non-vaccinated until 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I think they're still doing it for the major league games. I don't know if they're moving back to Toronto because they're saying if you're fully vaccinated, you can cross the border on July 5th.
Yeah, so you can, but I think you still have to quarantine. You still have to do the 10 or 14 day. Oh no, they're getting rid of that.
Yeah, but I think it's still like for like family emergencies, still priority.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like for work trips, for things like that, but you can't go on vacation there yet.
Not that you'd really want to, but crossing off Canada for the fourth time. But no, it's like we should see if they move back up to Toronto for the rest of the year, or they stay in Buffalo. I don't know.
I think they want to go home. I think they want, not to say like Buffalo isn't their fans, but I think they want their fans in their park. There's something special about that, being able to play
in the dome and all that.
Yeah, like where you're from, and so I would think if the opportunity presents itself, that they would definitely move back to Toronto.
Because like you said, it's a nice little stadium. It was a good experience. Crowd was lively, but it was like weird being in the vaccinated section as opposed to the unvaccinated section. I mean, they got the cardboard cutouts up in the upper deck and all that. It was just like, I mean, it was like one side had like full attendance, and like it was like a block of like Yankees fans.
And now, what can that stadium hold?
Like 21,000. It's a good sized minor league ballpark.
That's not too bad, because I was gonna say the thing with and you also have to consider about them moving to Toronto is the Blue Jays are losing a lot of revenue.
Oh God, yeah.
Because they're not making the kind of money that they could make if they were, at Rogers Center.
Yeah, and that stadium's massive.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they used to play football games there.
Yeah.
It's like, even though it's weird as hell to watch a football game there.
Oh, I'm sure the layout of.
It's wonky as hell. It really is. Because I've been there for a football game, and not a Bills game, believe it or not. There was the UB UConn International Bowl game. God, 2009, I think it was. It was right before the passport law became like in effect. But it was like, it was just weird sight lines. It's like, I don't know how the Argonauts did it for so long.
Yeah, that probably would have been pretty tough.
But yeah, especially with the 110-yard field, not the 100-yard field.
Yeah, definitely different. But yeah, so the Yankees, Blue Jays play the Yankees. The Yankees are having a very interesting year this year. They have, underwhelmed by many metrics as far as expectations. Their offense has struggled. Their pitching, beyond Garrett Cole, they really don't have anything. But one thing that they've done is they've turned a lot of triple plays, and in different ways every single time.
Well, it's cool
my favorite has to be the one against the Blue Jays, because that was just the craziest looking triple play that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was just dumb base running.
Yeah, story of the season.
Yes, I agree. But it's crazy like how they achieved, like they did one in the opening and the first inning, and they did one in the ninth inning.
Yep. Yeah, they walked off with triple play. It was the first walk-off triple play since the Phillies did it actually in 2009.
I've guessed older.
Except ours was an unassisted triple play.
Those are always fancier.
A little bit more important. Guy had his cleats or glove or something from that game was put into the Baseball Hall of Fame for
at least the ball
for a period of time. I don't think it was the ball. I think it was it was either his glove or like a shoe or something like that.
Well, yeah, because usually that happens when you hit like a line drive to second base.
Yeah, and that's I mean, he was playing second base, so I'm imagining that's how that went down.
Yeah,
I don't recall off the top of my head, but
yeah, it's like you catch a line drive, and then you tag the runner because he's running like hell for second base. You tag him and you touch second.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds easier in theory. Like the way that the Yankees are turning these triple plays, it almost makes you think, is a triple play really that hard? Because there's two runners on, hard hit ball hit to third. Like their last one was just around the horn, standard around the horn.
So was their second one.
There was enough time to go 3-2-1, and it just looked very easy.
Well, it's like I think the unassisted is actually easier.
Because it only involves one player being in one place. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like literally because I mean, literally, yeah, you can turn. Usually, if you try, you usually turn two. You get the out of third, and you get the out of second because usually the guy running to first has so much damn time.
Right.
Because you're literally throwing 180 feet while the guy's only got to run 90.
Yeah.
And you're doing like perfect lines. Like you're going, third to second, second to first. It's like your timing's got to be exactly on, or you're not going to get it.
Oh yeah, definitely. So Yankees are doing some cool things. They're still not a good baseball team.
I mean, they're waking up a little bit.
They are, and it's kind of fortunate, I guess, that the Red Sox have plummeted. They again started really hot. Now they're struggling. So
maybe they were Boston.
But you still got to worry about the Rays. I think the Blue Jays are definitely, they're coming up there. They have an opportunity to cause some trouble.
I know the Yankees have finished their series versus Toronto in Toronto. Yeah. The Yankees and Crazy Suns are only 4.5 games back of Boston right now for the AL East lead.
Yeah, so I mean that division, there's still a race there.
There's a race in the NL East with your Phillies because it's the Mets.
Oh, the NL East is the worst division in baseball.
Yeah.
Even the best team in the NL East, which is currently the Mets, would probably rank like second. I don't think it wouldn't lead a division anywhere else, and there's only a couple of divisions where it would be in second. But yeah, most of them it would be third.
You'd be fourth in the AL East. You'd be third in the AL Central. You'd be fourth in the AL West by a game. Otherwise, you'd be dead last. If you're the Mets, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you'd be third in the NL Central, and you'd be fourth in the NL West. I mean, the NL West is just a war.
Oh yeah, the NL West is insane. There are three teams.
It's the Battle of California.
Who would have thought it would have been 3 teams? I thought it was going to be the Dodgers and the Padres for sure. The Giants are having an incredible year, and I think part of the reason why the Diamondbacks are so bad is because of how good their division is. They have lost 40 of their last 45 games.
That's statistically impossible.
You would think. You would absolutely think.
I'm looking at
horrible. And I think they haven't won a road game in like 20, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's like 20 something. Yeah, something like that. Like road games that they haven't been able to win.
I'm looking at run differential right now, and it's like amazing to me, some of these teams.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the Tampa Bay Rays has a differential of plus 73.
That's incredible.
And they're second place.
Yeah.
But you know what the Yankees are?
No, what are the Yankees?
They're dead even. They've given up 281 runs, and they've scored 281 runs.
But that explains why they have struggled.
Toronto has got plus 43 in their fourth place. They're 35 and 35.
Wow.
But here's the outlier for you. The Miami Marlins are plus 18. And they're 31 and 40.
Yeah, they're not doing so well.
And the in your Phillies are minus 11 actually.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I get it. And then speaking of your beloved, Arizona Diamondbacks, they are minus 107.
My gosh, they have the potential to be the worst team in baseball history if they keep this up.
And they are currently, let's see,
and they're going to get worse because come the trade deadline, any of their somewhat good players are going to be gone.
Oh, absolutely. Houston's being Baltimore 5-0. I'm giving you like a live update. Oakland's being Texas being Oakland 5-0. Minnesota's being Cincinnati 3-0. Yeah, guess what? We got more shutouts. Guess it's not just like the screw with baseball, which we're going to talk about too next, right?
Well, they started as of today. Today was the first day that Major League Baseball, they've been talking about it for a while, and they said, June 21st was going to be the day that it went into effect. So sure enough, today was the first day that umpires started checking baseballs. And it just so happened that the Mets were playing, they have doubleheader today. So they had the earliest game. It was like a 5:10-ish start. Jacob deGrom's on the mound. Jacob deGrom is having a ridiculous season. There's not even another way to put it. He literally, I'm looking at his stats right now, has a .50 ERA. And that's because today he pitched 5 innings of 1-hit, no-run ball. So his ERA actually went down from where it was, which was .54 going into this game. So Jacob deGrom on the mound. He pitches his first inning. Before he can go into the dugout, the umpires basically corner him, and they check his belt, they check his cap, and they check his glove. And this is what the umpires are going to be doing periodically. I don't know if, pitcher is going to get tested every couple starts. I don't know what the sort of structure is, but it's supposed to be random testing. Well, I think it is still random, just with somebody like Jacob deGrom being the one who was the first person to get tested. People are going to look at it because, this guy had a .50 ERA. Maybe, just maybe, he was using something. But fortunately, it would turn out he is not. At least he did not use it this game. I don't believe he is. I would like to hope that he's not, because, greatness like this is pretty incredible. You don't want it to be tainted by anything, like
if he gets suspended for 10 games, his number will stay the same.
Well, if he's suspended for 10 games, his ERA can't get worse.
That's what I'm saying, though. So if he makes you purpose, like, yeah, here's some sandpaper.
Like, he has not given up a run yet in the month of June. He's pitched 16 innings. He has not given up a run in the month of June. He hasn't lost a decision since April 24th.
Jesus.
And now, of course, he has not won all of his decisions. He's won more than you would think, because the Mets are finally starting to get him some run support. But he's won 2, 3, 4. So he's won 5 of his last 7 decisions. The other 2 are no decisions. His last loss was April 28th.
Maybe I would troll the umpires a little bit. I really would.
He has not given up more than 1 earned run in a game this season.
That's insane.
It is insane.
Like I said,
he's given up 3 home runs total on the year.
That's previous comment.
And he's walked 10 and struck out 117.
You think, like I said, I probably start trolling the umpires if I were these pitchers. I really would.
In what way?
Bring some woodwork to the stadium, put in the dugout, get some sandpaper there. They're polishing some wood down. Just see what they do.
They're more worried right now about sunscreen, sweat, and rosin, because apparently the combination of sunscreen and rosin, I think it was Trevor Bauer was actually demonstrating this. Yeah, it was before one of the Phillies-Dodgers games. He has the media out there, and this guy is such a moron. If anybody ever thought that he wasn't cheating, then they're stupid, because he's out there demonstrating. He puts the sunscreen on his hand, does the rosin bag. He's holding the ball like this, and it is basically just stuck, to his hand. He's like, you want to know how they do it? This is how they do it. And I'm just there thinking, well, Trevor, now they know how you do it, or at least how you did it. So you're going to have to find, if you're planning on still cheating, because everybody knows that you were, you're going to have to find something new.
That's like murdering someone and writing a book about it.
Yeah. He literally is out there showing and his whole thing, when the whole thing first started, he was the guy who said, yeah, I know how the Astros are doing this. I'm not doing it, but I can tell you how they're doing it. If he found a way, he's the type of player, if he found a way to get a higher spin rate on his ball to be more successful, he 100% would do it. Wouldn't even think twice about it. So yeah, nobody bought the whole this is how you would do it. This is how you elevate your spin rate, but I'm not doing it.
Nope. No. I mean, I look at it this way. It's I can get rosin and sunscreen, sure, but sweat, really? I mean, not for
pitchers
nothing.
Will find anything.
Oh, I agree, but it's not for nothing. But holy shit, the game we went to was 97 degrees. I'm sorry. Sweat's bound to happen if we get on the ball.
Well, and that's the thing, that there's going to be a situation now where how do umpires handle unintentional cheating? If it's 90 degrees, you're going to tell these guys they can't wear sunscreen? They're not allowed to protect their body? They can't wear sunscreen? What if sunscreen accidentally, when it's hot and you have sunscreen on and you sweat and you're wiping your brow because it's hot, what do you have to do? There's going to be a cloth that you got to take it all off first, and then you can pick up the ball, and the umpire's going to make you show this test. If the ball drops to the ground, you're fine, and then
there's
it's going to be so hard to effectively enforce this in a way that isn't, so critical of these guys just doing what they need to do to protect their health.
I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just like this. I mean, my own gripe is they've been doing this for 100-something years. Like the only thing that people have used different things over the years.
Oh yeah, they only care now because offense is down. When offense is down, ratings are down. When offense is down, ticket sales are down. When offense is down, interest in the game is down. If pitching was still like, if they were cheating but there were still, good offense, average batting averages weren't like a high of 240. Well, not the steroid era, but know.
But did pitchers doctor the ball then?
I'm sure they were. I'm sure pitchers have been doctoring the ball since they first discovered that some of these things actually work on changing your breaking pitches.
Or since Ebner Doubleday did not.
Yeah, they've been doctoring it since all the way back then. But
I guarantee they have.
Yeah, if hitting hadn't gone down and like your best league batting average wasn't like 240, I don't know if that's still the case. It was at one point this season. Then they wouldn't care as much if the pitchers were doing this, because there was basically like a unofficial handshake agreement between the umpires and pitchers. It was like, as long as you're not using substances on this banned list, we're fine with what you do.
Which is like, like spits on the banned list.
Yeah. Yeah, no spitballs.
Yeah.
But so players got smarter. They figured sunscreen is something that I already wear. You're not gonna find it in my glove. You're not gonna find it on my belt. The only place you're gonna find it is on my brow or on my wrist. And you get hot, you sweat. How often do you see pitchers remove their hat, wipe their forehead? Because it's hot out there. Yeah. Like, you can't blame them for doing that stuff.
I mean, I just look at I die in normal baseball jerseys. I think we talked about it one of the last shows. Like when I saw like the wool jerseys they used to wear, like, how the hell do you play in July with that?
Right. Especially in some of these ridiculously warm climate places where it is just hot all the time, hot and humid.
Not even that. Like, look, when we went to the Philly, like, imagine us going to that Phillies game. They were in wool jerseys when it's 97 degrees outside. I mean, I'd be ripping those clothes off so fast once the game ended.
Oh yeah.
I'd be doing an interview maybe in a jockstrap. You're lucky. If it's that hot out, you bet.
And all these guys wearing long pants and yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, can they allow the players to wear shorts? If there's something to say, like, hey, by the way, like, I don't think it'll ever happen, but you.
Hey, the Diamondbacks, I think, were the team that first revolutionized the no-sleeve jersey because of how hot it is in Arizona.
That was Ricky Vaughn. Get it right.
I don't know. I think the team might have beaten him to it.
Rick Vaughn was long before that. That was like 1988. The Diamondbacks didn't come around.
I guess the Diamondbacks wouldn't have been until probably the early 2000s that they started doing it.
Yeah, because they only get only 5,000 degrees in Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do shorts. I mean, I guess with like sliding and stuff like that, it's harder to protect your knees if you're wearing shorts. Or if you're you're in the outfield and you need to dive for a ball, again, sort of same deal. Like, you literally have to have all these guys out there wearing knee pads.
I've slid in on a diamond with shorts on. Advice: don't do it, because it's like gravel.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had the gash all up and on my leg. It was pretty.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun to go to work the next day and you're like, like you're limping around, like with boss, like, hey, what happened? And I lift my pant leg up, like, oh, like, what'd you do? I'm like, I play softball.
I slid in shorts.
It's like the drinking game of murder ball. If you've never played it at a sporting event, it's an experience like second to none. It's like modified beer pong. Basically, you chuck a ping pong ball at an upside down beer can, and if you hit it, you flip your beer can bottle over, and you pound your beer. But usually, you're playing on pavement. Fill your own jokes in when you slide on pavement.
Yeah.
Pavement and flash don't exactly mix. Just
no, not at all.
Again, tell you from experience. When I'm walking into Bill Stadium, my legs all cut open, and the guy who secures like, what the hell happened? I'm like, that's a long story. But let's see what else. Yeah, it's just like, I get it. Yeah, but you say baseball, like I said, like, yeah, I think I'm speaking of the baseball hitting. hey, Seattle's above the Mendoza line finally. I think they're like 215.
You had to know it was going to happen.
Well, I think that's because they signed that 11-year-old to play DH. Isn't that picture crazy of my youngest nephew? That he looks like a grown ass man playing baseball.
Oh yeah.
I showed my boss at work, or one of my couple guys at work. I'm like, isn't that kind of cool that my oldest nephew, my middle nephew, my sister-in-law saw a pro baseball player taking instructions in Seattle? Like, yeah. I'm like, that's actually my youngest nephew who's 11. That's the young one. I'm like,
that's the young one.
Yeah. He looks like a grown man taking hitting instruction. I think I sent it to you, right? Did you see the picture? It's on
probably.
Your
yeah, you probably sent it somewhere in our conversation.
It's only like 2 or 3 days ago I sent it to you. It's just like he looks like a grown ass. My nephew, who's 11, is about 6 foot tall, and he's about, I'd say, 215 now. And yeah, it's just like, what the hell? Stop growing, kid.
Speaking of pitchers, did you see that Shohei Ohtani is game on for the home run derby?
Good for him.
I think it's great. I think if you needed a reason, and because part of what had been happening with the home run derby, the same thing that was happening with the slam dunk contest in basketball, was the stars didn't want to do it. And you more had it with the home run derby because of everybody always says there's so many stories of guys who've done the home run derby and then they've messed up their swing for the rest of the season and, blah, 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 blah. Well, the star power of that contest has gone lower in the years. People don't watch it anymore. I guarantee you this year, even if nobody else that's like a big name goes in it, people will watch it just to see that man hit.
I think Vlad said he would do it.
Oh, even better. Vlad and Shohei, because they both have 23 home runs. I think they're tied for the league lead now.
And do you know where the home run derby all-star game is?
Yeah. A place where you can hit them all day, all night.
It said, thank God it's timed now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because otherwise these guys wouldn't get outs.
Like, I don't know how, I'm surprised they didn't do that in 99. Well, we'll just say 99. Get Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa and go hey, we're gonna have the All-Star game in Colorado.
Yeah.
And just
go hit some balls.
Just we don't have time. We don't have a time limit. It's 10 outs. Hit as many as you can.
Yeah, they would never make outs.
Yeah, because their sheer power. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Cool. You just knocked an old lady out in Colorado Springs. Good job. So let's see what else we got to talk about. We covered baseball, and so we have 2 big, maybe possibly big football stories. I don't know if you saw Frank Clark. You remember him?
The name sounds familiar. Yeah.
He played for Seattle. Got in a little trouble when he first came into the league for DV.
Mm.
Yeah, he was arrested in LA today.
Oh.
They found an Uzi on him.
Not so good.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't think if you get charged with DV, I don't think you're allowed to have weapons.
I don't believe so.
And let alone an Uzi, which is slightly frowned upon.
Yeah, nobody should have that. Period.
Yeah. And concealed is he's charged with felony possession of a concealed firearm after police spotted an Uzi in the vehicle. Good job, Frank. It's okay, you only get paid $120 million for your contract. Hey, Paul, who's my guys I work with, your Chiefs found some new money because you're going to exercise that morality clause when he goes to jail, right? And the other little stories, I don't know if you heard. Do you know who Carl Nassib is?
Yes, I did hear this one.
That's great. It's he seems like he's way more outspoken than his brother, which I could not stand. Because I don't know if you know, he was the Syracuse quarterback's little older brother, Ryan Nassib, they're brothers.
Oh, I didn't even honestly make the connection. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
You're not missing much. But yeah, Carl Nassib officially came out of the closet today, and like I said, I hope this eventually becomes not a story in the sense that
Exactly. And that was the first thing that I was thinking of too. I get it, he's the first, which honestly I'm surprised it's been this long. I really would have thought that, the NFL would have had an open and out player at this point. But for whatever reason, that's just not how it's gone.
I think it's just the stigma
yeah.
of masculinity, for lack of better words.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like we've moved away from that stigma in recent years, where
I think
you're seeing it in professional wrestling. You're seeing it in these other areas that I would think. I guess sports is still kind of a different story. That whole locker room mentality, and maybe they're afraid to come out because you see each other in the locker room, you shower, so maybe that's an element to it there too. But no, I think it's great that he has felt confident and secure enough to come out. I think it's going to be really helpful in kind of bridging that gap for the NFL and, making it so that more players will feel comfortable doing it if they do, identify a different way. So, yeah, I absolutely think that this is great. And I totally agree with you. It'll be even better when it's a non-story, when it's literally just, because it's normal. There's nothing that is abnormal about this. The idea of heteronormality is a joke, or heteronormativity, whatever it is. It's a joke. There shouldn't be a story when something like this happens, because it's no different than a player saying, "Hey, I just became a dad." Like something that just happens in your normal life. Right. Exactly. There's certain things that shouldn't be a story, and the fact that they are a story, I get it, because it is very significant, a significant moment. But when they stop becoming a story, it means that we have fully embraced that this is just life. This is a normal part of life.
It's the new better normal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised, honestly, it hasn't happened in baseball, to be honest with you.
I probably would have thought, if I had to pick a sport, that baseball would have been the first. Or soccer.
Well, soccer's, I would say more so. I would say more so American, just in American sports dominant. I mean, because soccer's, I get it, but it's not it's not the whole America's pastime.
No, soccer. Yeah, it's like Big 4+1 is kind of how the MLS is viewed in America.
I can agree with that assessment, unfortunately, but it's the truth. But yeah, it's I would think I thought football would be probably, he's the second major, because the guy from the Celtics came out. Did he come out while he was playing, or was it after he retired?
I thought it was after he retired. I think this guy is the first active. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think Jason, the guy from the Celtics, again, his last name. But yeah, I think he just retired, then he came out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's great because it raises awareness too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important things that we still need to do, is to raise awareness that something like this is not strange. It's not newsworthy. It's not this is an individual who is choosing to be honest about their truth, and we should celebrate that, obviously, but we shouldn't have to be in a position where we should
embrace the truth.
But we shouldn't have to be in a position where we're acting like, oh my gosh, look at how rare this is, because I would imagine that while he is the first player to come out, I do not think that he is the first gay player in the NFL.
Oh, God, no.
So absolutely. Hopefully more players now feel because nobody ever wants to be the first to do anything. You don't really want to be the first. You don't want to be the last. So
yeah, you always want to be second.
Yeah, so hopefully other players now will feel comfortable in being able to express their truth in their way, and hopefully their teammates and the owners and the GMs and right, and the fans, hopefully they're as embracing as some people, and maybe that's partially why you're going to see some guys who don't, is because the city that they play for may not, there are still places, unfortunately, in this country that don't view things in an accepting way. So I can understand that being a barrier too.
I'd say it's probably easier for pro sports for someone to come out than say at college.
I would think so. There's more dynamics at play at college that.
Well, I mean, the sense especially if you go to, say, a school like Alabama,
right?
You might become prisoner of
lose the state of Alabama here, but
oh, we lost that years ago. I think Phil and I made a redneck jokes to kill off that state like long ago. But all jokes aside, you're right. It's like it's literally like it's just more socially acceptable in places possibly like Las Vegas.
Yeah, the more liberal, sort of left-leaning your state and your city versus being conservative and right-leaning, you could probably think about that when you make that decision to come out. Is where do I live? What is my environment? What is my geography? Is this going to be something that, and obviously it's your teammates as well. I would imagine that there were probably conversations that he had one-on-one with teammates. I'm sure there's a support system. But not even so much are you cool with this, but like, is this something where you think I should tell everybody? Because I imagine he had confidants. I imagine he had, even if the entire locker room didn't know, I have to imagine there are some individuals that he relied on. Yes, exactly, in that locker room. And he probably went to them and said, I'm ready to tell the whole team. And when the whole team knows, I'm ready to tell the world.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's honestly like, should I or shouldn't I?
Right. Right, and you trust those individuals for a reason, because they are going to give you advice based on what you need to do, what's best for you. They're not going to say, don't do it because...
I think it helps him too. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, they don't just say, like, don't do it because the fans in Vegas aren't going to support you. Like, that's not what that teammate is going to say. They're going to tell you to do what you need to do, what's best for you, what makes you feel most you, being able to live your truth, being able to live who you are and not pretend for the rest of the world. Like, that's not healthy either.
Well, I think what also helps him too is the fact that, like, he's not a young guy.
True.
He's 28. He's not like a rookie coming to the league saying yet.
He is established. He's been with the team for a while.
Like, I mean, I go back to Michael Sam. The guy from the Rams, they got drafted by the Rams that came out before he got drafted. And it was just like, I think it was just more established that, like, I'm trying to think how to word it right without coming off insensitive. It's just like, I think it was just because it became a thing during the draft.
The way that I saw that situation was that the NFL was not ready.
I agree with that.
They were not there.
I'd say American pro sports weren't ready.
Right, because this was how many years ago now?
Oh, God. I actually have it up right now. He got drafted in 2014, so 7 years ago.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like it was a lifetime ago, but in a lot of ways, it really was.
Well, it's like when we talk about, like, yeah, because I mean, Carl Nassib got drafted 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
But my point though is, like, it's like the joke when we talk about pro wrestling, in the sense, like, when there's racist, like, lines and we talk about the Wayback Machine of, like, 2003 or 1990. It's like, this isn't, like, the 50s. This isn't the 60s. Right. This is 21st century still.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have taken that long. As a country, our road to acceptance, and we're still not even fully there. We may never be fully there because of, the way that the political divide is in this country, as far as what certain people believe and will always believe, and how they feel their values, whatever the case might be. And then the other half of the country that feels differently with their values and their belief systems, everything like that. So yeah, I don't know if we'll ever really get to that point where, I think socially acceptable is a good word, but we're closer than we were. Like 2014, like I said, doesn't sound like a lifetime ago, but honestly, where we were at in 2014 compared to where we're at now, it really is miles and miles better.
I agree, because I think every day we get miles and miles better. I think it's better. I think it's better because more people are coming out saying, like, hey, individuals are doing it more than the collective.
Right.
Like, I know friends that are diehard conservatives, but like I'll name drop my friend Laura. She's very far right leaning politically, but she will be at every Pride Fest saying, "Mom hugs right here for free."
Yeah.
To anyone that needs one. Well, preferably people that are gay, not like weird guys that come up. But point here, but it's like stuff like that. It's like,
I think it's more. I think this is one of the few times where it's up to the individual to like grow up than the whole collective.
Yeah, no, and definitely, more people feel more comfortable being able to do it now because of how we have evolved. It's that idea of we've come so far, but we've got so far to go. But at least we have gotten to a point that we are getting there. We are actively trying to, make this world a better place for our kids and grandkids, and hopefully they get to experience a fuller picture of equality that we, we're just not there yet.
I think it's even just the sheer stigma of just like being out, in the sense of like just being like, it was even being talked about. So I've been talked about for 40, 50 years.
Right.
I mean, it's like my parents' wedding, for example. My parents had gay guys at their wedding. Like, this is 1971. This is 50 years ago. And of course, my mom's mom, Irish Catholic, as you can relate, very uniquely as well. It's not always welcomed.
Right.
Like, my grandma wouldn't go inside what was then Sibley's that became Macy's and whatever. And they were just not welcome. It was just like, it was shunned upon, to say the least, especially in like the Catholic community.
Right.
And it's just like, I think it's like I said, I think personally it's up to the individual, like, just to grow up. Because I don't think you'll see like a mass acceptance. Like yes, you'll see like, probably it might be literally down party lines on average.
Right.
But like I said, like, I'm a white straight guy, and I love my gay and lesbian friends. Like, yeah. I flat out told my friend Joe on his birthday, like, and he can be more different than me than anything. I don't know what he has headed into the door, but I tell him every day I love him.
Right. And because that's the thing, it's the whole idea of people saying like, oh, I have Asian friends, I have Black friends. No, you have friends.
Yeah.
You all have differences for whatever reason, whether you come from a different city, whether you come from a different race, whether you went to a different school, whether you like a different sports team, like, all of those are differences, and they are equal differences. There are not defining differences in someone.
We're all human.
It's and it kind of goes back to, Martin Luther King, the idea of don't judge somebody by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. If we all just looked at it that way, if we looked at individuals for who they are, not what they looked like, or, what race they came from, what sex they identified as, like, if we just looked at somebody for who they are, then we'd be a much better place.
Oh, absolutely would. Because last I checked, that we all bleed the same.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, all of our blood is red.
I mean, I can tell you from experience, I have plenty of red blood.
Yes, you would know.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from this morning at work, I have plenty of red blood. Don't worry. I had a nosebleed. It's nothing gross. But like, yeah, it's just like, just be a decent person and just be like, hi.
Right.
It starts with a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm optimistic that this is going to go over well in the NFL. You're always going to have your bigots. You're always going to have your people that don't, and maybe there will be some players on that team that say, I don't feel comfortable with this. Yeah. Please trade me or whatever. And that if that's how they choose to be, that's the attitude that they want to take. It should not punish the individual who came out and told their truth just because someone else is uncomfortable with it. Because guess what? We all face uncomfortable situations every day. And there are ways to handle them that are appropriate and that are kind and that are respectful to other individuals. And there are ways to handle it that are the opposite.
I mean, I hope against hope that's not the case for anyone on the Raiders. Like, really,
I would hope not.
Well, in the sense that, like, so say you get traded to, like, say you get traded to the Bills and say, hey, this guy comes out.
Right.
You don't know who's gay and who's not.
Right. That's the thing that, now that Nassib, now that we've had one individual come out, I do think that you're going to
Yeah,
see
you
more
mean-
of that, and that through that, it's
Or like
going
you
to
said,
build
they're
a
gonna
more,
probably-
yeah, through that, it's going to build a more accepting, a more inclusive NFL.
And like you said, I don't think it's so much they're going to come out as gay. Like they're going to come out as how they identify.
Right. You could have individuals come out, and say that I don't know if, you're necessarily going to have trans related issues in a major
I don't-
sports league.
I
I
don't
don't think
think
we're there yet. It would not surprise me if, during our lifetimes that's something that becomes not necessarily a common part of sports, but it becomes something that there is a conversation being had around it,
but you may have a
because
guy,
it's not that strange.
right? You might have a guy come out and say, "Hey, I like men and women."
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's the world that we live in. Things are constantly changing. Things are constantly evolving, and the fact that people now feel comfortable to express who they are and to express their truth, that is the best thing that you can hope for, because everyone deserves the right to feel respected and to feel appreciated, no matter what makes them different. Because like I said, we all have differences. They range from major differences to minor differences, but we all have differences. And that's what makes life exciting. That's what if we were all the same, then what would be the point? You'd be talking to 30 different versions of yourself. There would be no dissenting viewpoints.
I'm laughing just because I can see like the emo kids like from high school like dressing all in black. So I'm expressing my individually by dressing like him or her, and they're all like in black, like emo clothes.
Hey, different people have different versions of what individuality means to them as well.
That's very true.
But it's the flavors of life, as they say. That's what makes it interesting. Our differences are what makes life interesting. I would not want to live in a world of just me's. I wouldn't.
You'd probably kill these two.
I'm not that exciting. Like, not gonna lie. World of just me's, I get bored really quickly.
I think if there's no one of you, I think you'd kill her. I'm not gonna lie.
Getting to meet other people who are different, have different stories and different backgrounds, you learn so much. I would learn nothing from a world of just me's.
No, you don't grow.
Yeah. And we don't evolve if we can't embrace those other elements that, they're not part of our life, but they're part of our world.
Yeah, it's like go to a college campus.
I work in one.
I know.
I can tell you.
It's like honestly, I tease my friend Andy, whose birthday is today, to shout out to your happy birthday, Andy. I kind of teased him because he went to Monroe Community College with me before I went to UB, and it's very, very diverse. Like every walk of life you can imagine. Like from people from all over the world come here. Like really, believe it or not, for community college. It's affordable. You get the kids from the inner city. You get kids like like. I remember when I graduated from there, and I was one of my friends. Like I met his mother for the first time, and she's bawling her eyes out because it's her first kid graduating college.
Yeah, a lot of first generation college students.
Right, and stuff like that, or like, yeah, you get like you have people that are black, like white, like, in the whole gamut of color, and then you've got the whole sexuality gamut too. It's just like the reason why I tease my friend Andy is because he's from like Amish country, Pennsylvania originally. And he went and he was homeschooled. I'm not knocking homeschool here, believe it or not, I'm not. Because I can't imagine going from being homeschooled in rural Pennsylvania to going to like Western New York and you're going to a community college that's so diverse.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a big culture shock.
Like I can't imagine what he went through. But yeah, it's like I think, and we're better off. I mean, I really think that.
Oh, 100%. And sports will be better off too.
Oh, absolutely, they will. I mean, people are going to say, "Oh, now we're going to have a Pride Month in football." I'm like, why not?
Yeah,
that'd be my question. I mean, we do stuff for cancer research. We do stuff for supporting our troops.
Yeah, what's wrong with celebrating that? What's wrong with and that's kind of the thing too, where like Major League Baseball, they did a really cool thing for Juneteenth where they were celebrating the Negro Leagues. So a lot of teams oh yeah, a lot of teams that had, they were the home team, and if they had a Negro League, they wore that jersey, and then they were auctioning off the jerseys to, support. I forget what it was, some, like Juneteenth Foundation or something like that. But like people were all about that. Like, why have that? We already have Jackie Robinson Day. I was like, no,
this is bigger than Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, first of all, unequivocally different things. Jackie Robinson Day is celebrating breaking the color barrier, which is such a unique to baseball thing that it's worth celebrating. It makes sense that his number's retired. It makes sense that we honor and acknowledge that, because what baseball is today is a picture of what Jackie Robinson and other trailblazers have enabled there to be. Baseball,
dream to be.
Right. There are players representing all countries. There are players, like, baseball is such a diverse sport that I don't, as I always say, if it wasn't Jackie Robinson, it would have been somebody else. But it was Jackie Robinson. We celebrate him. We celebrate what he did. We celebrate his accomplishments. The thing with Juneteenth, though, is that's different, because that's
a color barrier for the country.
That's not a baseball thing, right? That's for the country. So I liken that to when the players wear, stars and stripes on their cap, or when they wear blue in, I don't remember what month, but when they wear blue for prostate cancer, when they wear pink for breast cancer, like, why can't we have additional celebrations that are good for the game, and they're good for all of us? It's good for us to learn these things about history that we don't know, and it's good for us to celebrate. The Negro Leagues were a very important part of baseball that goes, has gone unheralded for a very long time, and to bring that stuff forward.
And now they're a major league.
Yeah, to bring that stuff forward, to bring these stories forward, to bring these legends, these individuals forward. That's what we need. We need to hear the stories that we don't hear in school. We need to hear the stories that we don't read in textbooks. There's a wealth of stuff out there, and you need to hear it all.
And I can't wait to, I do want to go to Kansas City to see the Negro League Museum.
Yeah.
And
that would be awesome.
And I will bet you $100 that you don't know one of the biggest donators to that museum.
Can't say I do.
Take a wild guess.
Give me a hint.
Probably one of the best baseball players of all time. That's all you're getting from me. And recently, and I'd say will be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he's eligible.
What team do you play for?
That would give it away. I'll give you. Well, I can give you one team he played for.
American League or National League?
American League. I'll give you one hint. I'll give you one team he played for, because he's played for more than one. But the main team he played for would give it away. The New York Yankees. That won't give it away at all, because it won't narrow it down, because it's the Yankees. And he's Hall of Fame eligible in, I think, 2 years.
I have no idea.
Ichiro Suzuki.
Really?
Yeah, he's donated like $1 million. Like, he went there for the first time and was brought to tears, apparently.
That's incredible.
Because I think he feels the same way. He's like, I'm the first real Japanese star in Major League Baseball.
Right.
So, I mean, why not help this cause?
Right, like, apparently, because he's a trailblazer in his own right.
Well, I think he also looked up to people like, I can't think, like Buck, God, what the hell's his name? One of the guys that won the Trailblazers for the Negro Leagues. Like, he actually met him, like, when the All-Star, when the All-Star, and he was like, just hugged the guy, because he's like, he was basically, this guy's me.
Right, and that's what it is. Without you, there's no me. Some of these players respect that idea, and it's not even just the black players. It's not even just the guys that are coming over from Cuba or the Dominican or anything like that. Even some of the white players, you look up to whoever your heroes are. It doesn't matter what the color of their skin is. It doesn't matter anything like that. People look up to Jackie Robinson because of who he was as a man and what he did for the game of baseball.
Well, it's like watching the stuff, like if you watch the clips of, like, when Tony Gwynn died.
Mm-hmm.
All the stories of him like being a student of the game.
Oh yeah, he was another one. Incredibly well loved, incredibly well respected.
Well, not even that, and I don't mean that way. Even like just him, like when he got to the World Series in '99 versus the Yankees, he didn't care about the games. In a manner of speaking, I mean, yeah, he did care, but like his favorite moment of the World Series was when he met the PA guy from the Yankees. I can't think of his name. It's like Mel. We met Mel Allen, and he thought it was the coolest thing hearing like now batting for the San Diego Padres, number 19, Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
And he got a recording of that, and he like wore it out because he thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like he finally got Mel Allen to announce his name in a baseball game.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome.
It's just the history of the game. It's like, yeah. Like I think that's awesome. Like I saw, like the Rochester Red Wings had like they're like the 1988, the 1888 team that was here, and they were wearing their jersey, and it was like really cool. I don't know if they gave away. I'm sure they auctioned them off and all that, but
yeah,
like I would love to have one of those. It's just one of those cool things to see.
Yeah. The Giants were doing that. The one game they played the Phillies, and there was a T-shirt giveaway, so fans were getting the T-shirt that had the San Francisco Sea Lions, which was the name of the team. But it was funny because there was a cub on the jersey, not a sea lion. And the story was that there had been a team that was called the San Francisco Cubs. They gave their uniforms to the Sea Lions so that they could play. So the Sea Lions, they were only in San Francisco for like 1 year before they moved to, I forget where they ended up. But they played with these jerseys because that was all they had. So they relied on the generosity of the team that came before them to say, here's a uniform, like go out there and play, go out there and represent the Bay Area, represent our city. So yeah, I thought that was such a cool, interesting story because you would look at it and be like, why are they called the Sea Lions? There's a baby bear on their jersey, and that was the reason why.
Yeah, like June 12th of the Durham Bulls had like they did the Jackie Robinson Day jersey thing. When everyone wears 42.
Yeah.
And they put it out. Maybe someday we'll all wear 42. Stuff like that. It's just like I said, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the Red Wings jersey and all that if they have it. To be totally honest with you.
Yeah, I think what it just comes down to at the heart of it is acceptance is the only path forward in sports, in life, in whatever the case might be. You learn to, people always say like agree to disagree. Well, if we accept individuals, if we accept their differences, we don't point out their differences, we don't talk about, why everybody isn't the same, we just accept people for who they are, we would live in a much better world and we'd have a much better path forward as opposed to, focusing on differences is a bad thing, focusing them on something that you don't want to be different than other people. Because like I said, if we weren't different, it'd be really boring.
I mean, the greatest example for me would probably be if you've read the book The Giver.
Yeah, yep.
Don't watch the movie, it's not worth your time. It's a whole different story. But yeah, it's like reading the book The Giver. It's like everyone's the same and they're mind controlled.
Yeah. So
that's not to drop academics on a sports podcast, but I just did.
Yeah, we took this really deep.
Yeah, well, you should. I mean, it's a deep issue.
And it's an important issue. And I know this is a sports podcast, but this is an issue that goes beyond sports. So,
God, yeah.
Any venue to talk about it, any venue to raise awareness and to lift things up for the positive good, I think that's a great opportunity.
I'd rather do that than talk sports, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, it's more impactful. Yeah. Because anybody can talk sports, and everybody does talk sports. You know how many people have sports podcasts? Thousands.
Millions.
Upon thousands. Maybe millions.
But how many people would probably just glazed over by this if they even acknowledged it at all?
I'm sure the major television networks and stuff probably talked about it.
But people like you and I?
Yeah, probably not.
I think they mentioned this happened and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I remember we talked about when what's his name came out, Darren Young.
Darren Young, yep.
We talked about it for a good half hour.
Because it's a story that goes beyond sports, and it just goes down to human decency and human dignity.
Yeah, and last I checked, we could use a lot more of it.
Yeah, because we all want to feel that way. Like there's a universality to humans where there are certain things in life that we all want. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of sums that up, where they talk about we all We
Yeah,
need
no, we're not in
sustenance.
psychology. No, Jesus.
I learned that in communications, not psychology, believe it or not.
I believe it.
But yeah, we all need sustenance. We need physical nourishment for our bodies, but we also need spiritual nourishment in whatever way that looks like. We need to be
Emotional
accepted. We need we need these elements, and that's universal. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody needs these things to feel what was called self-actualization. And we all deserve the right to pursue these things. We shouldn't be blocked because of a skin color, because of a different gender identity. Nothing should block us from achieving our self-actualization, because everybody, it's kind of like the whole United States, everybody's entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, is everyone entitled to it? Because we certainly don't.
It doesn't.
Yeah, we certainly don't. We say those words.
You do,
but we
but
certainly
except for
don't.
You and you.
But we certainly don't treat it where everyone is entitled to these things.
I think we're getting there, but I hope to God we get there someday.
I like to think that we will. Maybe not in the way that you have 100% buy-in, because I don't think you would ever have that.
I'd be happy with 655.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If more people than not, accept and respect.
I'm asking for 100%. I'm asking for 90. I'm asking for 75. I'm asking for 5% above majority.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to get 100%, 95%, 90%. Anything is better than where we were.
But it's like the newsroom quote about 5%. We can always do. That's one of the greatest things about this country is we always say we can do better.
Right.
And all we need is 5% to kick it down the can.
Right. Yeah. If you have the majority,
if you have 55% of anything,
you can make those improvements. You can make the world a better place for everyone, not just some.
Yeah. I got nothing else.
Good talk.
Yeah, it really was. Especially for two people I believe identify as not homosexual.
Yeah, I'm hetero, I believe. That would just be appropriate.
Yeah, it's I'm like you said, it's like those things I'm the A and the LGBTQIA, I think it is. The full acronym. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely an A. I tell all my friends I love them.
Yeah, and the world needs more of that too. The world needs more allies.
I agree. I'm really good at protecting and being a good ally.
Very good ally.
I got a unique set of skills. As you've actually met me, you can vouch. I probably can protect people pretty decently.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just these narrow shoulders, these little hands. I don't know. It's gonna be a struggle. Might be a couple extra punches. I don't know.
Maybe you should fight Logan Paul.
I would do it in a heartbeat. If I got $10 million, I would do it in a heartbeat. You mean you're to train? I would take it so seriously. You would even.
You probably beat him up just for free.
I probably would. If I got myself in good enough shape, I probably would. I cannot stand his whole YouTube. Him and his brother. I'd fight him. I'd fight him and his brother.
Mm-hmm.
I'd fight them both at the same time.
Hands tied behind your back.
Brock Lesnar versus
blindfolded.
It'd be like the Brock Lesnar versus the Young Bucks in the Barbarian Death match.
Dream
That'd
big.
Be a dream.
Dream big.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think how many people would actually watch it. I digress. I swear. God. Do you have anything else to talk about?
No. I think we covered everything, and I think not ending it on the Young Bucks Brock Lesnar thing, but I think where we left off as far as the acceptance conversation, I think anything after that would be superfluous.
I think ending on the note about Conor is not saying it's not the major story of the day, because it's a major story.
Right.
But I think we need to spend the most amount of time on it.
Oh yeah, and the story, we're not ending on the story it being focused on him. We're ending on the story of how it impacts sports and how
society.
Because sports are such a big part of our world that when something impacts sports, it does impact our world. It impacts our culture and things like that. So, for something like this to be occurring in football, I think it's great. I think it's something that, we build off of and we can grow off of. And if, the sports universe, if players and teams and owners and if they can all accept it, then shame on the fans that choose not to.
I agree. Because I know there's gonna be plenty of fans that don't.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that is the case. But you know what? Football doesn't need those people.
Yeah. The society doesn't. I have to say
No.
society doesn't need them.
No, society doesn't need them either. So, if there's individuals out there that say, I'm not watching another Raiders game until this guy is cut, then cool. Goodbye. We don't need you to watch Raiders games.
It's like the people that say, I'm not watching football because he took a knee.
Right. And how many of those people, to be fair, how many of those people were full of crap? I guarantee you most of them.
In both senses of the words. I mean, like, okay, who gives a shit? I mean,
well, yeah, but I guarantee most of them were lying through their teeth when they said they weren't going to watch another game as long as players were taking a knee.
It's like it's a whole different show. We won't do that.
Acceptance. Yeah. It all boils down to one word.
I'm working on that for this. I can't. Like, I really can't.
If we learn to accept, then the rest will all come with it.
Sure, let's go with that. I wish that was true.
Hey, gotta be optimistic, because otherwise.
I agree. Except for
pessimism is not going to get you anywhere.
Except for Logan Paul thinking he could beat Mike Tyson in a fight.
Yes, that's just delusional.
Yeah, we've established this.
Not optimistic. No chance.
We should. Yeah.
In the great words of Vince McMahon, no chance in hell.
Yeah, that's very true. I thought you were going to say you're fired, but
I mean, he can't fire Logan Paul. He doesn't technically work for him.
Thank God. I mean,
he only did like that one angle with Sami Zayn.
Thank God I was just so short. I'm like, why are we doing this? I would love to see like Floyd Mayweather come out like be out like Kevin Owens. That's what they should have done.
That would have been interesting. But if Logan Paul doesn't come back, I'm okay with that.
It's like, I mean, how is he a thing? That's my question. He's just, I don't get how half these people are just a thing anymore. It's just like, maybe I'm old. It's probably possible, but it's like, oh, you made your money on TikTok. Oh.
I get YouTube stars, but him and his brother are just so annoying. They should have stayed on YouTube.
Very, very kind
if they had stayed on YouTube, it would have been fine. But they're now going out there and thinking that they can beat, people in boxing matches and challenging all-time greats. Like, no, you're a YouTube star that has taken up boxing as a hobby.
I could train for 20 years and never beat Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Like boxers, professional boxers, I mean, most Olympic boxers have trained for years trying to beat Floyd Mayweather, and they can't get through his defense. I get it was like a thing, like an exhibition, but holy hell. Like I said, the whole, what's the name, Conor McGregor one, I never got it.
But at least that made sense in the idea of Conor McGregor was a big star in a combat sport who had experience, not boxing, but he at least had experience with beating people up. These two jabronis, Logan and Jake, were YouTube stars.
I have experience beating people with too, but I'm not going to change Floyd Mayweather to a fight.
Right. And then you go from Mayweather to Tyson? Like, what's wrong with you?
Like I said, objectively, okay, yeah, you outweigh Mayweather by 25 pounds. Now you're gonna be about 40 pounds lighter than Mike Tyson, who can hit still.
Yeah.
Like I said,
going to kick your butt.
Yeah. Honestly, it'd be almost like a fight versus me versus you. Except for
not even a fair fight.
Except for reverse the height difference.
Oh.
Well, because Tyson's like 5'9".
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, he's kind of compact. Like I said, just watch his early. Just if you get bored one day, watch Tyson's early fights. And my advice to you is don't blink. So, by the way, since we alluded to it before we got on the air, how's the weather there? By the way,
So
I haven't heard anything all day.
when we first started, it was pounding. And if I didn't have this headset on, you would have heard it. Like you don't hear anything because it's contained with the headset. But like if it was just
Right.
the computer audio that was picking it up, you would have heard it because I'm literally right next to the window. I
That's
don't
funny, that's
know.
weather.
Yeah, I don't know if there was thunder or lightning. I don't think there was lightning. I didn't hear thunder, but
I
the
don't obviously
rain
there's
and wind were coming down pretty hard.
obviously there was no tree damage into your house, which is always a plus.
Yeah, I don't believe anything fell into the house.
I think you've heard that.
It at least didn't fall into the room that I'm in.
Like
So.
I've heard, like I said, they said the house, like in my town where I'm, like except for like a couple towns, like it was like across the city, like on the east, like Rochester's divided between east and west side. Like, we're on the west side. There's a house on the east side, like a big tree fell through a house.
Crazy.
I saw. I was like, my mom was like, "Oh, it's not that bad." I'm like, "Mom, it's like literally into the frame. it's not gonna end well. Like, they're probably gonna level the house."
Several years ago, it was a bad storm. Might have even been one of the hurricanes. It might have been Sandy or Irene. We had a tree fall against the house, so it didn't fall into the house, but it did damage our air conditioning system, as like it stuck out of the house a little bit. So the way that the tree fell, like it fell against that, fortunately there wasn't enough strength to it falling into the house to damage, any of the structural integrity of the building. But yeah, it was scary.
We really don't have like, we've never really had an issue like around here for like that. Like at least my house hasn't. Like we've had ice storms and shit like that, but we've never had like an issue. Like we've had a tree, we had to take down one tree, which is one of the greatest stories of all time. It involves my brother, his friends, and my dad, and my next door neighbor who's deaf.
Oh.
Well, in the sense that she's yelling, she's trying to yell. She can talk somewhat, but she's yelling. She's telling my mom to tell my brother, my dad, and everyone move.
Yeah.
Because she didn't realize like this thing like came with when they took down the tree. It came like within this, almost knocked out the pool.
Jeez.
My dad was disappointed because it didn't kill one of my brother's friends. There's one of my brother's friends he could not stand. He's like, damn it, Miss Brian. And I'm not kidding. He was dead serious with it too. Like, I gotta find the picture from my brother's wedding. I think I'll send, if I can ever find it, I'll send it to you. Like it's my dad looking up to the top of the house that we were staying in. Because we were like a 2-story like house in San Diego for my brother's wedding, and you can see him looking up to the top. And it's like my friends and my brother's friends and I were playing the caption game. And most of us came up with like, so if I throw Brian off the top of the roof, how many bounces will he do? That's like shit like that we thought of my dad, like because he's like that, and we just like plotting.
Too funny.
It's just it's like stuff like that. It's like, other than that, we get snow. That's it.
Yeah.
We get the occasional tornado that's like EF0, which doesn't do much damage, but it's still a tornado. We get like a 2.0 on the Richter scale for earthquake. Other than that, we get snow. We dig out, we go. It's like it's like
they're used to it by now.
Yeah, and then Nick got mad at me when I told him like we call it the storm that hit you guys. That big snowstorm was like 4 or 5 years ago, and he got mad at me because like, yeah, Nick, we call that Tuesday because we really.
Yeah, we don't get snow like that ever.
I mean, I think I told you. I think I've mentioned to you a couple times that big monster snowstorm that hit in October in Buffalo when I was in college there. We got like 3 feet of snow within hours.
Yeah, that's insane.
And it was just like North Buffalo, South Buffalo was fine. And like the whole city of Buffalo lost power except for like UB North Campus, where I was.
Wow.
But the craziest story of it all, there was a Sabres game that night.
And they still played it.
They played the game. They got them in.
Wow.
Like it's like the whole city's like shut down. There's no power anywhere besides the First Niagara Center. I think the First Niagara Center. Whoever it was, I think it was the HSCPC arena and UB North Campus. They got like a generated power of the hockey arena, and they played the game. Like if I could find pictures from like October 13th.
That's back when people actually wanted to watch the Sabres play, right?
That's very true too. It was Lake Storm Aphid. I'm like it's on Wikipedia. I just saw it. Like Yeah, long range. Like I'm like literally the timeline. It's like this is not sports related, but it's amusing as hell. So like long range, they're saying like there's supposed to be possibly a big storm coming like early in the week. Yeah, by like what the hell is it? Here it is. Yeah, it falls like what the hell is it? This is the temperature before. Yeah, it's the cold front passes through the Buffalo airport thing on October 12th at about just past midnight. By 8 a.m. the 13th, the next day, there was already 22 inches, like 22.
Jeez. Yeah, we never get snow like that.
And by the 15th, the snow melted. We declared a major disaster area. Cheektowaga, which is like, oh wow, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, UB North Camp, Buffalo, like the Buffalo part, like actually got like 60 inches of snow, 5 feet of snow within 2 days. And it's just crazy because like if you go like where I live in Rochester, we got like, and like it shows right here, like Brockport, which is like about 20 minutes from me, got 3 inches. Niagara Falls got 1 inch.
Wow.
Which is like, it's probably like 20 minutes north.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And yet, yeah, it's in the south of Boston, which is crazy. Niagara Falls got a trace amount of snow. Fort Erie got a foot, which is Fort Erie got Terror Canada right across the border. Yeah, Orchard Park, where the Bills play, got 8 inches by comparison.
Hey, I'm just happy it's summer. No snow.
Me too.
It's starting to get a little hot, but
I hope not.
Oh,
theoretically,
July.
no snow.
July's on its way.
Doesn't matter. So we've had snow. So
in July.
Yes, the Northeast is one of the few places in the world that has recorded snowfall every month of the year.
Wow.
Because I think it was like 1824 though. Year without a summer. 1816. It was like I think it was like Krakatoa went off or something like that.
Oh, the volcano.
Yeah, and it threw so much ash that apparently like, Nebraska got 6 inches of snow, like 6 inches of ash.
Oh wow.
Nebraska. Do you know where Krakatoa is on the globe?
Yeah, not close to Nebraska.
No, they're definitely not in Kansas either. But yeah, so as a result, like I think we got like snow like in June, July, August, and September, like every month of the year that year.
Huh.
And like the country almost didn't make it because of snow, because of ash cover.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, like severe frost occurred every month. June 8th and 7th were so cold that like crops were cut down, even froze the roots. When corn was in early autumn, when corn was in the milk so thoroughly that it froze and never ripened. In northwestern Pennsylvania, so that'd be like by the city, right?
Northwest?
You know that'd be
that's like the Erie.
Oh yeah. That's like where northeast Pennsylvania is. Yeah, they actually had frost reported in August.
Wow.
Yeah, they ice in the lake. They like in Lake Erie in August and July.
Wild.
And the problem they were having extreme weather swings between like just like like the cold weather, and then the next day would be 95.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is in summer and shit like that.
Crazy.
And I did that all the stalls so we get over 3 hours.
I knew it. I knew you were. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, we just talked about ending, on that NFL story. And now we've moved on, and now we're talking about weather, and now, I had a feeling. I was like, he's just trying to make sure we hit the 3 hour mark. Because we were looking like we weren't going to hit it today.
But at least we didn't hit 3.5. We're gonna be off by 11 o'clock. That's why I started.
That's true.
I'm happy to start at 7:30.
7:30 is pretty good. Yeah, I like a 7:30 start time.
Okay. I think I got nothing
doesn't keep too many other people awake. I won't get, like banging on my door like I used to in the old podcast days.
Well, we were up to like
2 in the morning. What are you doing?
Singing opera. Shut up, Mom.
I remember having to do it for my car a couple times because I was there's no way I'm going to be able to be quiet enough.
And it's probably not even from you commentating. It's probably from you like not laughing at Phil and I.
Yeah, it would have been less from like me actually talking and more, because laughter comes out a little bit louder. But good times either way.
Yeah, and because it's 10:30, we'll end it here and like we'll pick it up probably next week. I hope.
Yeah, next week should be good.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure big stories will happen between now and then. Like, Stanley Cup should be in the finals. NBA might be like on their way.
Yeah. Stories that aren't related to weather.
Unless there's another monsoon coming through or something like that.
That's true. Yeah. Unless I suddenly get snow next week, then we can talk about it.
Absolutely. Okay.